Hello, and welcome to Back Through the Lens, where two film school friends talk about movies through the haze of nostalgia. The good, the bad, and the ones that aren't quite how we remember them. I'm your host Rachel, and with me is my co-host Joe. Today's movie is Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
It's the summer of 1985, and the weather is warm and the nights are bright. Tears for Fears are on top of the charts with Shout, and European Vacation is on top of the box office. Donkey Kong is becoming a popular video game, while toys like Operation and Speak and Spell are being played at home, often in front of the TV, while Inspector Gadget or G.I. Joe, a real American hero, are on. In this season, we celebrate films that turned 40 in 2025, the same year we also hit that milestone.
So we are in August 1985 at this point, still not quite our birthdays.
No.
Slowly getting there.
Yeah, I think looking ahead, we might both be born by the last movie. But I forget the dates on them, so maybe not.
That's so funny. Speaking of birthdays, you have a note apparently that Anna Kendrick was born on this day.
That's what it said when I looked up things that happened on this date in 1985.
Well, that's fun.
Did you ever watch the show growing up?
Oh, yeah. I watched that show all the time as a kid.
I feel like I've seen it here and there. I honestly wasn't a big Pee-wee fan. I do remember watching the movie more than the show, but it was, I don't know, it wasn't like my thing, I guess.
I'm pretty sure I found the movie because of the show, because I remember watching the show a lot, and I actually looked it up because I saw all the seasons of the show were streaming on Prime. And I just played a random episode and it was like all coming back to me, like the chair with the mouth and the arms. And
I remember that.
I remember his door being zigzag.
Yes.
Where it fits into the wall. But then also the genie head that talks to him, that was a zigzag when it closed. And I always remember thinking that it was like the opening credits of Saved by the Bell where all the like squiggly things were flying around.
Very 90s font, yes.
I think what surprised me, I just watched maybe 10 minutes of one episode, is how loud it is. And I should not be surprised, I guess. But I always think of that Mr. Rogers documentary that came out. It could have been 5 years ago at this point because I was still living in Pennsylvania when I saw it. But they had a segment where they talked about how the real life Fred Rogers, his hope for children's programming was that it could remain kind of sort of like softer and calmer, and that he wouldn't have been so into how big and loud like more modern cartoons were, even cartoons when we were kids. And I never even thought of it in that way, like just the huge difference. And
oh, yeah.
Separately, my husband had seen something when our son was really little about Mr. Rogers being a good show for like later in the evening because it has a calming effect on kids. And again, this seems so obvious, but there are certain shows then that we realized are more Mr. Rogers speed that we would be like, okay, especially during the pandemic, like, we need to calm down. Let's put on something quieter and nicer. And I know for us, there's a show called Puffin Rock on Netflix. That was a big one. That's like a very chill, sweet show. It's literally about like puffins and other animals that live on this beach. It's Australian. But immediately when I went back and revisited the Pee-wee TV show, I was just like, God, this is so loud. I kind of remember my dad being annoyed by Pee-Wee Herman when I was a kid, and I think I understand it now.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. I'm just actually trying to picture a world where Mr. Rogers and Pee-wee are neighbors, and they have to go on some sort of adventure together. And how long would they last before Mr. Rogers beats the shit out of them? I don't know.
It's really just a test of his patience. Like,
yeah.
How long can you stay nice when this man is next door to you?
Who would break first?
Who would break first? Definitely Mr. Rogers, definitely. There's just no competition, I think, with that. But I realized most of my memories of Pee-wee is a character. It's the TV show for sure. But I know I watched the movie a lot too, whether we owned it or I rented it all the time. I'm not really sure. But I realized when I was doing this rewatch for this episode that I think I've always just thought of Pee-wee Herman as a children's character because of my personal experience with him, and that it's just not accurate.
I mean, I feel the same way just because I was a child when I was introduced to him.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's over the top,
Mm-hmm.
animated, his movements, the characters, their personas, they're all like, even like fixtures in the house, everything's a caricature of something else. It's like over the top. And to me, that screams children, childhood wonderment.
Yeah, I think from watching the show, when I would then watch the movie, especially that whole opening of the movie when you see Pee-wee's house, how tricked out it is. Like you said, over the everything is over the top. And also, he loves his bike. And what
Hmm.
did we do all the time as kids? We rode our bikes around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
This all felt I felt like I was getting confirmation bias from the movie as a kid that he was also still a children's thing because of at
I,
least that first bit of the movie.
yeah, I always thought that.
I'm glad I'm not alone in this.
But there's something about him that's like he's stuck almost in an adolescent type of mindset.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I was a little struck watching this back, remembering that he sort of has a love interest in this movie, or at least someone is romantically interested in him. And
right.
I was kind of like, huh, I don't know. I don't know if I even think of Pee Wee Herman as a man. I just think of him as Pee Wee Herman.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, that being said, do you want to mention the quote you added in here?
So I have this on DVD, and I just thought there was a quote on the back that was pretty apropos, especially for our theme for this season. And it says, should captivate 4-year olds, 40-year olds, and anyone else whose heart is beating.
It was like written for us in this season because we're
Yeah.
40.
Yes. Yes, Rachel. Thank you.
We're the cap, though.
Oh,
No
okay.
one
Yeah.
older. um,
I showed the quote to my wife, and she's like, "Oh, that's you." I go, "Yeah, no." She goes, "No, those are both you. You're both of those things." I go, "Oh, yes, okay, thank you."
yeah. It's
Mm.
okay, though. Yeah, I think that's a really good way to sum up this movie, especially on my end of things, having gone through all the research of the past of Pee Wee Herman to the movie to then what happens after. This is very much a sweet spot, like this particular film. So,
Well, let's dive in, I guess.
all right. So, our movie today is Pee Wee's Big Adventure, directed by Tim Burton, released August 9th, 1985, rated PG.
Pee Wee Herman has a very special bike, but unfortunately for him, it's his nemesis Francis's birthday, and all he wants is Pee Wee Herman's bike. When Pee Wee is out running errands, ironically at a bike shop, his bike gets stolen. With the cops unable to find any leads, Pee Wee must take matters into his own hands. The search for his beloved bicycle leads Pee Wee on a big adventure across the country to find the thief.
So, we mentioned when we were talking about the TV show, I know I watched this movie all the time as a kid. I meant to ask my mom if we owned it because I feel like that's how much I watched it. I will say I don't think I've seen it since I was a kid. There was a lot here I didn't remember. I don't know if I've ever seen it as a grown up.
You were just on the 4-year-old side, and now recently the 40-year-old side.
I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah, I definitely forgot about it. I can't really remember first time I saw it. I know I was little. I think I remember the house we were living in. I don't know how we came across it. I don't know if someone showed it to me. It was on TV. I think I remember seeing the movie first, as I said earlier, and then like the TV show here and there. The show never really interested me. I had rather watched at the time like The Simpsons or Ren and Stimpy or
Mm.
things maybe not as wholesome, but also equally as weird, if not worse, and gross. Hmm.
Worse and gross.
Yeah. Well, you know. I remember thinking it was funny, but I never like loved it. I watched this rewatch with my wife, and she seemed to have more of a nostalgic feeling for it than I did.
Hmm.
There are certain scenes when we get to that, like I remember these scenes for sure, 100%. And then some parts in the middle, and then there are parts where I'm like, I don't remember this.
Yeah, yeah. I think we had a similar experience with it, which we'll get into. But Pee-wee Herman as a character apparently debuted in 1977. He had a cameo in Cheech and Chong's next movie.
Okay.
I had no idea. I somehow had the feeling that Pee-wee existed before this movie. And I was like, was it SNL? Was there something else I'm not thinking of? And I don't know why I knew this, but I knew that he was not just created for this movie somehow.
Well, A, wasn't the TV show first?
Mm-mm. The movie was
No.
first.
Oh, so that's a false memory right there. Okay.
Yep.
Well, it would explain why I didn't see the show before the movie. Okay. I feel like I might have seen this cameo. Comedy Central used to play a bunch of Cheech and Chong movies, but
Okay.
I obviously did not know this is where it started. I just figured Pee Wee is a character. People know Pee Wee. Let's throw him in this movie
Yeah.
just because it'd be funny.
Yeah, I also feel like people, if you weren't growing up at the time we were growing up, like maybe don't understand what just a pop culture character Pee-wee Herman turned into. Like he was just sort of everywhere.
Yeah.
Like he would just show up to like Mr. T was everywhere.
And they're together in this movie, kind of.
And they are kind of, yeah. Actually, my son listened to some of our what was the episode recently where we mentioned Mr. T, and I had to try to explain who Mr. T was. But we were in a car, like I was driving him somewhere, and I was like, look, none of this is going to make sense. I'll just show you a picture later.
Yeah, he is not our demographic.
Yeah. But anyway, Paul Reubens was in the Groundlings for a while, the LA based improv group. He eventually tried out for SNL. He has this whole story about walking into his, I guess, last audition. It was the final round. And he saw Gilbert Gottfried was also auditioning. And he felt like they were two very similar, they had very similar shticks, is the way he put it, basically. And also, Gilbert Godfrey knew one of the producers. He knew someone to where Paul Reubens was like, okay, well, it's not going to be me because we're really similar. There's only room for one person like us. And he has a friend on the inside, basically. So he did not get it. I also read that this was the quote unquote infamous first season of SNL where Lorne Michaels was gone. It was a big deal for some reason. Like this season was a big deal because it was going to be all new cast members, and it was the beginning of Lorne Michaels being gone for 5 years.
I don't remember that.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I know you're talking about, but it's probably like a chunk of SNL where I didn't watch anyways.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much SNL lore that gets wrapped up into a lot of these movies we talk about just because of the time period. And people will even bring things up sometimes when I talk about what episodes we're doing. And I'll be like, oh, I didn't know about that. And they're surprised. And it's like, I don't know, man. SNL's been on a really long time and I haven't
It's
seen all of them.
Yeah, it's been on forever.
Yeah.
I get the comparison here because as soon as you said Gilbert Godfrey, I'm like, I can kind of see like the similarities. But at the same time, seeing Reubens doing other things like Mystery Men with Ben Stiller, like he played different characters, obviously. But
Right.
Pee Wee and Gilbert Godfrey are very similar. They're both very loud and could be obnoxious. So I don't know what Paul Reubens, the not character, how he auditioned, because I feel like he could have done something different. But also just the way they look and carry themselves, I can also see how similar there would be in audition.
Yeah. Like, I know I've seen early Gilbert Gottfried stuff before, probably on SNL, but I mean, obviously, all I think of is Aladdin. So I just think of him as Iago. So I have nothing really to add here. So this is a quote from Paul Reubens after being rejected from SNL. I panicked so bad. I called my parents from a payphone and borrowed $5,000 and out of terror, bitterness, and spite created the Pee-Wee Herman show. I just thought if I didn't do something, I go directly from up and comer to on the sidewalk pulling somebody's pant leg. Now, when we say the Pee-Wee Herman show, this is referring to a stage show that he developed with some friends of his from the Groundlings. They were doing this back in LA. So, Pee-Wee Herman, this stage show, debuted in 1981 as a midnight show at the Groundlings Theater. More adult humor than what we probably think of when we think of Pee-Wee, especially the later children's show. Phil Hartman, in particular, helped him create the show. He performed in it. They were apparently very close friends. I didn't realize that Phil Hartman went on to work on the screenplay for Pee-wee's Big Adventure with Paul Reubens. And I think when I think of Phil Hartman, I'm just thinking of The Simpsons, maybe, and SNL.
Well, yes, SNL for sure, The Simpsons for sure. Um, Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in so much, Phil Hartman, and I didn't know he had anything to do with the script until, a couple days ago watching the movie, and then he's like got a small cameo in it, obviously.
Right. So somehow this included, some sources say a tour. I don't know if the Pee-wee show literally went on tour or if he just did some shows in New York City because it was, so popular in LA. But they did a sold out show at Carnegie Hall. HBO recorded it as a special to air on their network, which the idea of HBO being the only place you could see something like a particular concert or comedy show where you didn't live in a city that was cool enough to actually have it happen nearby, like that brought me back. HBO felt so exclusive and like they had the best of the best all the time.
Yeah, I remember seeing commercials. We didn't have HBO, but they would still promote it on other networks, TNT, TBS, whatever. All the ones we talk about. Ones we talk about every week. But if there was a up and coming stand ups or like you said, even a musical show, you'd see commercials for like streaming it on HBO at home or whatever they would call it at the time, and you're like, well, I guess I'll never see that.
Right, exactly. Because we had cable, but I think maybe in high school we got HBO, and I specifically remember being like, oh my God, we have HBO now, but it was because it was bundled or something, there was some deal, but at least growing up, to me, that was like a rich kid thing.
Oh yeah.
We would have never had HBO. Yeah. Okay. So because this show was so successful, it got the attention of Warner Brothers. They hired him to do a Pee-wee movie specifically. There wasn't necessarily a story in mind. They were just like, this character's a hit, so come write a movie for us. He wrote the script with Phil Hartman, which I mentioned, and Michael Varhall, also in Groundlings. He originally conceptualized a remake of the movie Pollyanna, with Pee-wee playing the Pollyanna character. I have never seen Pollyanna. I know the image of Haley Mills as a young girl with like the curly blonde hair. I don't know if I even fully understood what the story of Pollyanna is. Basically, Pee-wee would arrive in a new town in need of some fresh perspective, and by the end of the movie, he would have endeared himself to even the most curmudgeonly of the citizens.
This kind of sounds familiar. Not Pollyanna itself, just this idea. It kind of sounds like one of the sequels we'll talk about later.
That's what I thought when I finally looked up. I went back and added this, like, what actually is Pollyanna about? Yes, I had the same thought. Okay. So while he's trying to work out a script about this, he noticed that a lot of Warner Brothers employees rode bicycles around the Warner Brothers lot and requested one for himself. Apparently, it came with kind of a plaque saying this was the parking space for Paul Reubens' bike. And I don't know if they did that to be funny because he had specially requested one, or if this is really how things worked. I don't know, but if people were really this serious about their Warner Brothers bikes. but this inspired him to write this script about Pee-wee having a very important bike.
Okay, nice.
Paul Reubens gave an interview where he said that he, Phil Hartman, and Michael Varhol, while revising this script, they had read this really famous screenwriting book called Screenplay by Sid Fields. It's from 1979. I don't know if you're at all familiar with this, but this is where the concept of, every page is a minute. Every
Mm-hmm.
page you write is a minute of film. There's also beats you're supposed to hit at like 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes. And it's very, when they say someone wrote a textbook kind of script, like this is kind of the format they're talking about. He said, it's a 90-minute film. It's a 90-page script. On page 30, I lose my bike. On page 60, I find it. It's literally exactly what they say to do in the book. There should be like a MacGuffin kind of thing, something you're looking for. And I was like, okay, my bike.
That all checks out. Yeah.
And I just think it's so funny that these guys who already had a major studio deal were like, I gotta read this screenplay book. Like, so I know what to do here.
Well, you always got to get better, right?
Oh no, I appreciate this. Gives us hope for people like us.
Yeah. I also think maybe part of it is the realization that they had this deal, and it's kind of like maybe let's not fuck this up. How can we make it better?
Yeah, yeah. And I guess I don't know how long the original stage show was, but they were pretty much just writing skits before this, or at least
I
before the
kind of,
stage show.
I kind of was picturing that.
Yeah. So I could understand there being some confusion about how do I stretch out this funny idea for 90 minutes or whatever. So there's a lot of discussion, especially on film blogs, that Pee-wee's Big Adventure is a parody, I guess, of Bicycle Thieves, which is an Italian film from 1948. If you're not familiar, it's basically this husband and father in post World War II Rome who desperately needs work. It sounds like jobs are hard to come by across the board. He has to have a bicycle for the particular job he gets. And it's basically riding around town putting up, they call them posters. I feel like they're putting up advertisements on walls, basically.
Yeah.
Um, First day on the job, his bike gets stolen, which means he cannot do his job anymore because if he shows up for his, morning round at the office where he gets his stuff to put up and he has no bike, they're going to be like, well, where's your bike? You can't do this job. And the way the guy explains it, this would have been a life-changing amount of money, just a steady job with overtime pay. Like, this could solve a lot of their problems. He and his son walk all over Rome looking for his bike. They kind of accuse various people along the way. And in the end, he attempts to steal a bike because he's just so desperate. And a lot of this is seen through his kids' reflection of who his dad is and what his childhood is like because they are very poor and the kid's aware of this. It's probably one of the saddest movies ever. Like, I don't know how else to say that. It's very funny to me to think of Bicycle Thieves, which is, I guess, something you would probably consider an artsy, like an art house foreign film. And then to think that this could be connected to Pee-wee's Big Adventure is very silly.
Yeah, I've heard this before. I can see similarities. Obviously, they're there. I feel like, and I don't know if we were in the same class when this happened, but I feel like we definitely watched this in a film class.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it was thrust upon us that, oh, look, it's like Pee-wee, or I made my own connection. But I definitely remember thinking of that after watching this in school. But that's kind of where it stops. Like, there are two movies about bikes being stolen, and maybe there could be maybe inspiration, but that might be, I think, where I would stop. Because, like you said, it's very sad. This is a time
Mm-hmm.
where they were using, like, they weren't making big Hollywood films. Obviously, they weren't in Hollywood, they were in Italy. But they
Yeah.
were using regular people as actors. I think the father son were actually, weren't they like real life father and son? Didn't he bring his kid to the audition or something like that?
I don't remember that, but yeah, it's neo-realist, which is especially in like post-war Europe, people were just making movies with non-actors.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they were pretending like they weren't even obviously making movies because everyone was, down on their luck and their cities had been destroyed. And yeah, I don't remember if the father and son are related in real life, but it's usually that's a hallmark of this time that it's just regular people, like you
Yeah.
said, non-actors. And I
Maybe
was
they weren't related in real life in the film. I think I read that the actor who plays the dad brought his son to the audition. I think that's where I'm kind of crisscrossing the facts there.
okay. Yeah, so I basically had some time on my hands and was like Googling, did Paul Reubens ever confirm that this was supposed to be, a remake, a parody, whatever you want to call it, of Bicycle Thieves? And I looked through his quotes, I looked through Tim Burton's quotes, and no one who actually worked on Pee-wee's Big Adventure, at least that I could find, was talking about Bicycle Thieves. And I did find a review of the Paul Reubens documentary that was on HBO a couple years ago. I mean, it's still on HBO, but it debuted, I think, 2023, where Paul Reubens is just talking about the same thing we just said, that the inspiration was the bikes on the Warner Brothers lot. So I now don't know if this was a purposeful thing or if, like you said, both film scholars and just regular people who really like movies have decided these are both movies about stolen bikes.
They must be the same.
Yeah. And because there
Every
really is no other link. It's not like you could see anything where elements of the story in Pee-wee's Big Adventure could have been lifted from Bicycle Thieves. Like there's no other homage to it.
No, the two bikes get stolen. Main characters search.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one's all over Rome, one's all over the United States.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. Is every movie about time travel Back to the Future? Is the Terminator and Back to
Right.
the Future the same movie?
Yeah, because I always felt like if this were to be a parody of Bicycle Thieves, like it's such a loose one because there's not any other similarities in terms of plot. Like I said, the tone is obviously completely different.
Yeah.
So this is my own personal theory for right now, I guess, until I am proven otherwise that maybe Paul Reubens did not mean for this to always be connected.
I mean, the quotes say that they're not, so unless for some reason he was lying, and Tim Burton is still lying, but what would be the point?
From what I can find, it's not that anyone has ever come out and denied it, but they've never even brought it up in the first place.
Right.
They just keep talking about, him getting the bike from Warner Brothers and thinking, in his opinion, it seemed like kind of a fancy, almost over the top kind of thing because they had like the parking spot with his name on it for the bike. And he was like, well, what if Pee Wee lost something really important to him? And then that thing could be the bike.
And if this is true, we see this actually play out in the movie when he first reveals the bike and he's washing it and polishing it. He has a
Mm-hmm.
placard that says Pee Wee's bike or whatever it says on it. It's like that could have been the homage right there to his
Mm-hmm.
bike on the lot.
Yeah, there was some mention he gave that's, why he has a nameplate like that on the bike in the movie. Yeah.
There we go.
Yep.
Hey, there are bikes in ET. Do you think they also got their inspiration from this very sad movie from the
Right.
40s?
Jesus. Oh, yeah. If anyone is inspired to go look up Bicycle Thieves because of this, sometimes it's called The Bicycle Thief, singular.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow it goes by both titles. Okay, so initially, Warner Brothers gave Paul Rubin a list of directors to consider. He did not want any of these directors. He said later that he was inspired by Sylvester Stallone because Stallone apparently had a thing where he would never direct anything that he was not also the star of. Like, he just always put his foot down about this. So Paul Reubens said, okay, if Sylvester Stallone can do that, I can do that too. I'm putting my foot down and I'm saying no to all of these. And Warner Brothers said, fine, as long as the person is approvable, available, and affordable. And Paul Reubens had Tim Burton in mind this entire time because he had been impressed in particular with Tim Burton's short film Frankenweenie, which, if you are not familiar, it was later turned into an animated movie. I want to say like 2012. This was a big enough short that it really put him on the map. Like, people understood who he was just by
Yeah.
Paul Reubens saying, I want to hire Tim Burton. Like, he already had a reputation. From what I remember, he was kind of looking for a feature length to get into that. Paul Reubens was friends with Shelley Duvall, who apparently was in the short of Frankenweenie. I had no idea.
No.
So she, connected the two of them. Paul Reubens said, it was the biggest piece of luck early on in my career that I could have had. Tim Burton felt very connected to Paul Reubens as a comic with his sense of humor, also with Pee-wee as a character, and he just felt like it was a huge opportunity to be offered a feature film. This was his debut feature film, which I don't know if I ever realized that, but timeline-wise, it makes sense.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why post childhood memories of this movie I revisited in high school and probably again in early college as you start to collect physical media, and I was doing that with DVDs at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I learned that about Tim Burton, I was like, well, I like X, Y, and Z. I remember watching this as a kid, and let me add it to my collection. And I remember revisiting that and going, huh, not bad, but it's not Beetlejuice or Batman or whatever. So you can see some of his style in there, and I know we'll talk about that
Mm-hmm.
as we talk about the movie. It just
Yeah,
does kind of stick out, though.
right.
Especially it's so much brighter, like physically.
Yeah, when I think of Tim Burton, this is definitely not the first movie that comes to mind, but also I was, like you, becoming more aware of like filmmakers and certain directors at a time when Tim Burton was releasing things like Sleepy Hollow and The Corpse Bride. So it was a very
Right.
different, like, he was very much the gothic Tim Burton kind of thing. So,
Oh, yeah.
but this is a quote from Tim Burton. In a strange way, I wasn't really nervous. I mean, you have those normal nerves of something new and all of that, but I was sort of blessed with not being too worried about what people think. My background was animation. I just tried to go with what I felt was the spirit of the script and didn't have any grand major plan. It was more just getting into the vibe of it. I liked it and went with that vibe, which kind of protected me. I felt supported by everybody, which is not always the case in films. It was very positive.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and everything I read, which I might have some quotes to that effect later, he and Paul Reubens worked really well together. Tim Burton was very hands off in terms of the character of Pee-wee. Like, the character of Pee-wee was Paul Reubens, but then Paul Reubens also was like, Tim Burton is the director, though. Like, they kind of both stayed in their lane, but still worked really well together.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm. And I believe in the research I read, Tim Burton was 26 when he was directing this. Okay, so we get into casting. The only real story I have is that the producers, I believe, really wanted Louis Anderson for the character of Francis.
Oh my god, I can totally see that working though.
Right, I can see it working too. Mark Holton, who actually was cast as Francis, didn't really think he had a chance because somehow it got back to him that that's who they were considering. But apparently, Louis Anderson was making a lot of money for stand-up shows at this time, and the story is that maybe because Mark Holton was more affordable, that's why they went with him. But Mark Holton's like, that's fine with me. I can be like poor man's Louis Anderson. It's fine.
Yeah.
Paul Reubens initially wanted Mark Mothersbaugh, the frontman of Devo, to do the score to the movie. He was unavailable, but he would later compose the theme song to Pee-wee's Playhouse, the TV series. So, both Tim Burton and Paul Reubens had heard of Danny Elfman. Tim Burton because he was familiar with the band Oingo Boingo, which we previously mentioned doing the theme song to Weird Science. Danny Elfman was the front person for that band. Paul Reubens somehow saw this weird midnight movie that Richard Elfman, Danny's brother, had made called Forbidden Zone. It came out in 1982. And even Danny Elfman's like, that thing's weird. I can't believe he even like took anything away from it. But Paul Reubens remembered seeing that movie and saying, if I ever make a movie, I should call this guy for the music. And he remembered Danny Elfman's name and got Tim Burton to get in touch with him, basically. Danny Elfman, this was his first time ever doing a movie score. He basically wrote songs with Oingo Boingo and did, let's say, shorter songs, not a whole movie score. So here's a quote from him. I was filled with excitement and dread. When I got the call that I'd gotten the job, I told my manager, tell him I can't do it. He goes, why? Because I don't know how to score a film and I don't want to fuck up their film, he says. You call them and tell them that you can't do it. I've been working on this all week. I literally looked at the phone all night. In a weird way, the thing that convinced me was having come from the punk era. Even though my band was not punk, it was of that ilk. I was in a weird rock band that seemed motivated by irritating people. That attitude ultimately saved me. It was like, well, fuck it, just do it. It's on them.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
So I want to make sure I'm getting this clear. Paul Reubens remembered Danny Elfman's name from his brother's film. So Danny Elfman maybe not scored the whole film, but did some sort of music for it, obviously?
Yes.
Okay. And then I also just kind of want to point out, even though it's there, but this movie pretty much started Tim Burton and Danny Elfman's not only movie careers, but they're like forever intertwined friendship or work relationship, whatever you want to call it, for like all eternity.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone's getting their big break.
Yeah.
All the other interviews that I read around hiring Danny Elfman, he couldn't play piano at the time, and so he found it really hard to convey his ideas to Tim Burton because he said it was just on the cusp of being able to make music on a computer where like you maybe didn't have to be able to play the actual instrument. And so it was hard when he's just kind of doing the previews himself, like getting his ideas out. It was hard to convey all that, but I guess, I mean, Danny Elfman said, like, fuck it, it's on them if they don't like it. But he apparently submitted his entire initial score and was convinced that Warner Brothers was going to reject it and be like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, fire him. And he was like, well, at least it would be good experience to have done this and I'll make connections. But he was like shocked that they were like, yeah, this is good. Like, come on board.
I know of the name Oingo Boingo, and not just because we talked about it in Weird Science. I've heard of them before. I just never listened to them. I often forget Danny Elfman is there because I think of The Simpsons and Tim Burton movies. Yeah. Did he do anything in the band besides front it? Like, did he play an instrument in the band?
You know, I really don't remember.
I feel like I assume he can play an instrument. That's why he scored his brother's film or made music for it or whatever. And but this quote makes it seem like it was confusing because I kind of always picture him when I see him in an interview. He's sitting next to some sort of keyboard or piano or something. So I kind of associate him with that instrument. It's like, oh, he didn't know how to do it at the time. How the fuck?
Yep. Yeah. I'm just imagining him being like, oh, I might have a career in film music now. I should go learn how to play the piano. Like totally the backwards way of doing it. Okay. So I included this other quote from Danny Elfman because I just liked what he said about the tone of the movie. My sense of it was that it didn't feel like a normal American comedy. It almost felt like a European comedy. It reminded me of something I might see in France or England, like Mr. Bean or Mr. Hulot's Holiday. So I approached it as if it was some kind of weird Italian film. which is
Yeah.
funny because of the bicycle thieves thing.
Yeah. Hope he didn't picture that one.
I know. But
Because that's a
it's,
funny movie.
yeah. It's funny that he mentions Mr. Bean because I think of Pee-wee in that sense, right? He's a
Absolutely.
character who's so intertwined with the real guy. He's in like multiple films or TV shows or whatever, even if it's not his character's movie.
Yeah.
He'll just pop up places. It's funny he mentions Mr. Hulot's Holiday. Did you ever have to watch that in school, in college?
I don't
Because I
think
did.
so.
I did. I think it's Jacques Tati. It's French, if I'm thinking of the right movie. But it's, I don't know. It's just funny, these like art house European film pedigrees being put on this. I don't know how else to say it. I feel like I also need to mention that all these movies, like Mr. Hulot's Holiday and Bicycle Thieves, they're in black and white. They're so like the production is so stripped down compared to something like Pee-wee's Big Adventure feels very big, and I feel like Tim Burton films always feel very big.
Oh, yeah.
Just different tone all around. But okay. Elizabeth Daly, who plays Dottie, she said Tim was able to execute what Paul really wanted and add his own thing. I think that's why it was so magical. As far as who was the director, that was clear. But Paul was very hands-on, as he should have been because he created the whole thing. Those are his characters. But Tim was respectful of all the things about Paul that were so established. It was already fleshed out. So more to what I was saying, that they had this really good working relationship, and it sounds like a mutual respect for what each other's job on the set was.
Yeah.
I wanted to point out they had this big premiere in LA at the Grauman's Chinese Theater in July of 1985. First movie premiere to be aired live on MTV. Just because
Whoa.
the MTV references always find a way to sneak in. I did find a couple quotes. Mark Holton, who plays Francis, I went to the party on the top floor of a parking garage somewhere on Hollywood Boulevard. They had mimes riding on a bicycle for two, which was quickly stolen by Mr. T. He crashed into a bunch of tables, came over, gave me a high five, and said, "You are a bad brother." I thought, did that just happen? Yes, it did.
What the fuck?
Wait, there's more Mr. T. Calm down.
Okay.
Tim Burton said, I sat next to Mr. T during the premiere. That was fun. Scary, but fun. He seemed to like the movie. He didn't lean across the aisle and choke me to death.
I just picturing him riding his bike and crashing it.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yep. It's great.
Was he there just because his cereal was in the movie?
Maybe, or, from what I read, it was a pretty lavish premiere. They had a lot of, I don't want to say circus performers because that's not entirely accurate, but things like trapeze artists and people doing like stunt things on bicycles and people riding unicycles and what was Mr. T riding before? A bike for two, like just people riding different kinds of weird bikes and kind of performers. And so I think because they knew it was going to be broadcast on MTV, that was one thing. They made it really big. And you always invite like big celebrities to big premieres.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, as we mentioned several times, past episodes, that Mr. T was very big, especially mid 80s.
Yeah, as I was reading this, I was thinking about how I was trying to explain to my kid how, I don't know, Mr. T was just everywhere. He was in all things. Like, I knew who he was as a little kid, and
Yeah.
half the random roles we've already mentioned, it's not like I had ever heard of these movies, but I still knew who he was.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
maybe it was from the cereal.
I can't recall if I ever had the cereal, to be honest with you.
Did he really have a cereal, or was this for the movie? Because it just could be implanting false memories at this point. Like, I don't know.
Ooh, Mandela effect.
Yeah, let me look it up.
I feel like the cereal did exist, though, because not that long ago, someone at work about our age, a little older, was talking to someone else younger about Mr. T cereal. As I walked by, he goes, "Joe, do you remember that?" I go, "Vaguely." And I walked away. And so I don't know if that
Uh,
proves if it existed or not.
he really did. Produced by Quaker Oats in 1984, the T shape. So what we see in the movie, yeah. All right. Well, anyway, we're here to talk about Pee-Wee Herman. So our movie begins with this theme song that immediately took me back to my childhood. Like I could picture the living room in my parents' house and how it looked when I was a little kid and I was like sitting on the floor watching this movie.
I didn't get that from this theme unless I'm mistaking it for something else, because there's some parts later in the score that I'm like, I remember this. And I feel like this one was a little softer. So I didn't get that right away.
Yeah, the score playing with like the breakfast scene too, like that
Yeah.
that's probably
That's
like
more my speed, yeah. Or
yeah.
when he like storms Francis's house or whatever. But
Oh yeah.
those kind of trigger some memories. The opening scene, that I remember very well. His dream sequence.
I literally remember asking my parents why the Tour de France was a big deal or something, or like what it was
Mm-hmm.
because of this movie. When I was talking to my husband before I put this on about whether our kid could watch it, because I really didn't remember a lot about it. I just kind of remembered Pee Wee on the bike. That's why I'm fairly certain I haven't seen this since I was really little. My husband was pointing out different things that he thought might be a little spooky for him, which, like, for my kid, like, I think he would find some things maybe a little spooky. But immediately, this whole opening, like you said, the Tour de France, the breakfast, like him walking through his tricked out house, it was all coming back to me. I had to stop writing things down because I was making note of all these little things that I was like, I remember this. I remember this. And it was a very fun experience for me, at
Mm-hmm.
least. The whole opening, I think, through when we are introduced to the bike, I was like, oh my God, I remember all of this.
Yeah, this whole opening sequence, up until through the bike, was pretty much as I remembered. I'm going to steal your line. I remember being in the living room at the house we lived in at the time with my parents. Like, oh yeah, I remember sitting down where the TV was at. And yeah, I felt like I was whatever age again.
The Rube Goldberg machines, I don't know what else to call them. I don't know if they literally are, but you know, the things he has set up to make his breakfast and all that. I always enjoyed that as a kid, but you know, we've mentioned that these seem to always pop up in 80s movies, so now it's just so funny to be like, this really was a thing.
Yeah, this is like the 10th movie in a row, I think, that we talked about it. Or
Yeah.
it seems like that. I definitely remember this one maybe second most next to Back to the Future, because I've just seen Back to the Future so much. But
Mm-hmm.
the first one I didn't remember, when he wakes up from the dream and his alarm clock is on a pulley and that sets a record off and something else happens. Like, you could have
Yeah.
just rolled over and put the record on, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But then,
Oh, that's the one that when I was first going through it, I was like, why does he have this set up? It's literally the simplest thing. But then I
mhm,
remembered the breakfast one, and that's obviously a lot more elaborate.
the breakfast one is very elaborate and very fun. That's the music I remember.
Hmm.
It's just very, I don't want to say aggressive, but very exciting. It's turned up a little bit, and it kind of, I don't know, it fits, but also juxtaposes what's going on, because it's just like an egg cracking and frying and pancakes being stuck to the ceiling, but the music's like ba
Yeah.
ba 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 ba. It's like really intense, and
Yep.
I don't know. It's that's the music I remember from this movie.
Hmm. I do too.
At least in this scenario with Pee Wee, he has that going on, the dog getting fed, breakfast being made, while he's doing other things. So, like, it's, to me, it's kind of like a time saving thing, even though
Sure.
in almost no example in these movies we talked about does the Rube Goldberg shit work. Except for
Yeah.
maybe when we first brought up with the Goonies and he has to get into the friend's house. But that's like, just open the fucking door, man. Just let me
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Well, because I always think back to Gremlins when we see this pop up, because I feel like maybe that's when we first really started noticing it. Um, because nothing works right in Gremlins either. But that
Hmm.
also, I don't know if that was really true Rube Goldberg machines or just kind of like gadgets that are supposed to be time saving and do a really simple task in a new way, but it still, to me, all rolls together into this being a
Yeah.
theme of this era where
Mm-hmm.
everyone's trying to like invent something to make things easier, and it most of the time I feel like it doesn't work. This is one of the few times where like something works, at least. I guess maybe his dog getting fed works,
Dog gets
because
fed.
the pancakes don't really. I mean, the pancakes are made, but they're on the ceiling.
I feel like they're half made. I feel like the side that's on
Oh,
the skillet is cooked, and then when he flips it, yes, he overflips it high enough where it gets stuck to the ceiling, but I think it gets stuck because they're not flipped. So the top side is raw still and gooey,
oh,
and that's what
right,
sticks to the
right.
ceiling. So a double doesn't work. I don't think he burns his toast like he does in Back to the Future, but he just launches it. He luckily does catch it. Yeah, his toast looks fine when he butters it, when he eats the Mr. C. Also, he does eat the pancakes, so he eats half cooked pancakes. Overthinking all this right now.
Oh, yeah. I also remember as a kid being like, why does he have, is it Mr. Breakfast? Is that the
Yeah,
pancake
Mr.
with the
Breakfast.
bacon mouth? Why does he have that plus a bowl of cereal? Because, like, to me as a kid, I feel like this was the equivalent of, I don't know, American sitcoms or American movies where people are always like, do you guys really have a huge breakfast spread every morning? And then like someone runs downstairs and like, all I can grab is toast. Bye.
Yeah,
And you know, because to me as a kid, I'm like, we have cereal on our way out the door. Like, why does he have two breakfasts?
and he takes 2 bites, and that's it.
I know.
To prove your point, yeah.
Yeah. If there was anything like sausage or bacon, it was because it was a Sunday and we had time to like make, I think, what we would call a more special breakfast.
Right.
I'm making us sound like freaking bicycle thieves. Like there's meat today.
Here's your rations, Rachel.
Oh, God. Okay. But I do remember in this scene the doghouse with the, is it a neon light? I don't know if there's like another name for that, but like his dog's name is on the neon light above the opening for the doghouse. And I remember being like, that is so cool. Why don't we have a doghouse for our dog, number one? Because you always see that in like cartoons and stuff anyway. I was like, why doesn't our dog have a doghouse? And my parents were like, she doesn't need one. Like, she lives in the house. It's fine. But
Yeah.
then I was like, or we could get one and have her name in like pink neon, and that would be even better. And they were just like, please stop.
Yeah, that's enough.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
enough.
What's funny, though, is his doghouse is in the house, in the kitchen. Like with cartoons and whatnot, like
Yeah,
Peanuts.
exactly.
Like Snoopy lives in his house outside.
Yes.
You
Yep.
know, this is a house within a house, which is fine, whatever. It's a little safe zone.
I remember him doing all the stuff in the mirror with the mad dog with the foaming toothpaste, the taping his face. Like, again, all of this stuff coming back to me that I could not think of off the top of my head before I had started the movie, but it was like, okay, I remember all of this. I remember all the lines he's gonna say, like all the times he's gonna do his like little laugh
I mean, to be fair, that's like
all the time.
all
Yeah,
the time. Yeah.
I know.
So that's the one thing you remember. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird how much I forgot of this movie before putting
Mm-hmm.
in, like, what do I remember about this? He's got a bike and it was stolen, and Large Marge, and a few things here and there. And the second he wakes up from his dream, I'm like, oh my God, I know what's about to happen. All of this is like flooding the memory banks.
Yes, yes. And it's funny because the parts my husband had brought up where he was saying like, oh, Large Marge might be a little scary for a kid, or this or that might be a little scary. I didn't even remember that. It was literally like you said, once he wakes up from the Tour de France dream, I was like, oh my God, this like playhouse of a house. I remember all of this. I also think maybe as a really little kid, I wonder if I sort of stopped paying attention once he leaves home, because then it's not as visually, it is not as fun.
It is the boring parts again, yeah.
Sure, yeah. But yeah, I love, well, first of all, he said hi to his neighbor, and I forgot about the weird watering system. And he basically is saying hi to his neighbor to warn him, like, close your window because I'm about to water my lawn, and it sprays all over his windows. And I was like, man, as a kid, I probably thought this was so funny, but as an adult, I was like, God, I would not want to live next to this guy.
See, I mean, yes, but as an adult, I'm like, that's not realistic. It's going to spray his neighbor's house because I think his watering system. I don't know if it came after or before this movie, but
Hmm.
it's just basically a child's toy to play outside.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I don't think it goes that far, but that's fine.
Like, I don't think
It
it's supposed to be this powerful.
yeah, but it's still funny.
It is. Obviously, I loved the reveal of his bike. As soon as I saw the the combination on the side of his house, I
The
was
little
like,
panel.
the panel, yeah, where he puts in the combo, and then like the bushes, like the fake part of the bushes opens up. I was like, I've again forgotten all about this, but once I saw him put the code in, I was like, oh right, his bike, like he locks it up.
Yeah, I had the same reaction. I like
Uh,
how bright red his house is, how his yard is full of a bunch of shit, and everything else. Like the two, we don't see a lot of his neighborhood in this shot at least, but the two houses right next to him are just very normal looking houses. And as much stuff as there is in the inside, I feel is equally on the outside, which we don't get to really venture too much into. It's just there as he walks past it to light his wacky water thingy. But it
hmm.
just looks like it's almost looks like it's cluttered of garbage, but we just know it's a bunch of toys or what have you for Pee Wee.
Yeah, yeah. This is when Francis comes up to him, right? Like after he's taken the bike out. Is this when he's cleaning the bike?
He cleans the bike and then he like walks it before he rides. It's like he walks it down to
Oh,
the
walks it to the
corner or
corner.
something,
Hmm.
and Francis meets him at the corner and is why is like every man wearing kind of pajamas but not quite pajamas, like a swimsuit from like 1944? I don't understand what's going on.
First of all, I remembered all the close ups of him cleaning off his bike. I specifically
Yes.
remember that. Also, I remember thinking Francis was so creepy in a way, like the way he talks, and then also that he's an adult acting like a playground bully, kind of like it's my birthday, I can have anything I want. And I was like, that's scary to me that he's a grown man who is still has this kind of mindset. And as an adult, I'm like, it's so funny that they were able to make these characters work, I guess,
Yeah.
because they are so ridiculous and not even childlike. It's almost like the most obnoxious traits of a child.
Yes.
But as an adult, I'm just here and I'm going with it and I'm finding it funny.
I felt I did the same thing as a kid because
Hmm.
you're watching this as a kid, and I think what attracts you to these characters is there's a lot of similarities in how they are acting. You have
Hmm.
this joyful man child in a red bow tie, and then you have this
Yeah.
big brat of a man who's like, I can do whatever I want. It's my birthday. And as a kid,
Hmm.
you knew both of those kids. As a kid, you might have been one of those kids. Who knows? But as an adult, it's fun to watch because Francis can't be a regular adult like everyone else is in Pee Wee's world. His nemesis has to be kind of on the same playing field as Pee Wee
Hmm.
in a way where I don't want to say they didn't grow up all the way mentally, but they are lucky enough to still kind of have a little bit of childlike innocence in them.
Hmm.
Pee Wee more so. Francis is just living at his dad's mansion,
Yeah, Francis
and
is just coddled to me.
oh yeah, he also he's like, oh, I can have whatever I want. Name your price, and pulls out this wad of money
Hmm.
that when I was a kid, like, wow. I mean, obviously they're rich, but seeing this child like Francis pull it out, like, wow, how does this kid have so much money? He's not a kid;
Yeah.
he's an adult.
But I
And
remember thinking that too. Like, why does this kid have
yeah,
so much money he's carrying around? Isn't that funny that we both read him as like our, like down to our age almost?
yeah. But Pee Wee reads that way too, in a way, and the fact that it's over a bike, where if you were making a movie about a adult, it could have been a car or a motorcycle, or
Hmm.
I mean, you could have a
Yeah.
nice bike as an adult still, but when
I mean,
it's
Pee Wee
how
does.
we got around, like my
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
prized possessions, I think, was my bike and my Nintendo 64. Like that's all I had.
Yeah. Well, and I really think for me, that is one of the reasons why some of this resonated with me so much as a kid, because that's all we did as kids. At least me and my brother, we'd ride bikes around the neighborhood with the neighbor kids.
Hmm.
And like you said, we weren't carrying money around with us, and there wasn't anywhere to necessarily go. You just rode bikes around, and then you'd go to one of the neighbors' houses and like have lunch, and then you rode bikes some more. And I did not have possessions because I was a child, but I had my bike.
Yeah,
So I get
I
it.
feel like, yeah, I feel like Francis, if you're paying attention, teaches you a life lesson here because he's a big old brat, and you can't just buy everything you want, even though he
Mm-hmm.
tries.
Yep.
Also, you mentioned his name, which I already forgot the actor's name, but the second I
Mm-hmm.
saw him on screen, I'm like, why does he look so familiar? And of course, him being a bratty, childlike person helped. I was like, I know we've seen this guy before. Hold on a second,
Yep.
it's adult Stillwell.
Yeah, I did not clock this. Once I read your notes about it, I was like, "Oh, of course," because, like you said, the when he makes the bratty face in A League of Their Own to be like, "Oh, remember me," and does the impression of the bratty child self. I kept thinking he must just look familiar because I watched this movie so much as a kid. But yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah, probably part of it
Hmm.
too.
Okay, so the character of Francis bewildered me as a kid. I remember this now. Also, when Pee Wee is then riding through the park on his bike, passes all these people doing like really cool bike tricks, and or they have like more, I guess, fancier bikes. I don't know how to say it, but I remember as a kid being like, who owns bikes like this? Like, who does this stuff on their bikes? Because, like, to me, I just had like a very basic, like, Toys R Us bike. I mean, I was a kid and I wasn't in a movie, but I was like, I don't know. I can barely pop a wheelie. Like, what are all these people doing? And I just remember being so in awe of this. And then also striking to me when he has to chain up his bike. Obviously, he goes above and beyond. He's like really wrapping length of chain around his bike. But I don't think I ever was in a situation as a younger person where I had to chain my bike up because where was I going?
Right. So the kids in the park definitely still impress me doing their tricks. The one kid is standing, one foot on the seat, one foot in the handlebars. I'm like, man, I
Mm-hmm.
remember barely able to do one-handed steering, like holding onto
Oh,
something.
yeah, yeah.
I couldn't. I was not a trickster on my bike. I didn't skateboard. Definitely don't remember locking up my bike. At least not at the age I was watching this. I think when I got older
Mm-hmm.
and was able to like get a nicer mountain bike and was able to go further with it and go to other places because still don't have a car. I'm not old enough anyway. But I think I would go somewhere with a bike rack and put the chain through the wheel. But
Mm-hmm.
that was until like double my life at that point.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to remember where I even went where I would need a bike lock. Maybe the pool, the city pool but that's when I was much older.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Little,
Yeah.
like, not little kid, but
Right, of course.
almost teenager-ish.
Right. Yeah. I got you. I definitely remember all the bits at the magic store. Magic store just exists for these jokes, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh, he gets a few things from it, and he uses
Oh,
them a
the
little later
gum.
on. The gum,
Hmm.
yeah. I thought it was funny. He has these X-ray glasses on, and he looks at a female shopper, and I'm assuming they don't work, but it's Pee Wee. Who knows? Maybe they do work.
Right, right.
She notices him looking at her with the glasses, and he lifts them up and kind of gives him a really awkward wink, like, hey,
Yeah.
hey,
With the laugh, too.
yeah.
So next he goes to the bike store, and I don't know what to call this group of kids. They're all dressed similarly. Are they like a racing team?
They look like a motocross team. I don't think
Okay,
they
right.
are, but maybe they are. They're all dressed the same. They look
But that's
like
a good way to describe their outfits. I wrote that they all look like Buzz Lightyear.
yeah, the colors are there. They look
The
like
colors are Buzz Lightyear. Mhm.
if you took Buzz Lightyear and Power Rangers as a theme and put it on a bunch of kids on motocrosses, then yeah.
I was laughing so hard though with the way he interacts with people, especially this conversation he has with Dottie, because he's basically yelling at her, like, because he's just loud. He's
He's
not
just
like
loud.
angry, but it's just the way he delivers his lines is so ridiculous and over the top. And of course, that line where after Dottie is like, we should go to the drive-in together, he's like, I'm a loner, Dottie, a rebel. Um, the idea of him being a rebel in his like weirdo gray suit is just funny to me, obviously.
So it's funny. I recognize Stillwell right away, but this is the third time seeing this actor in our podcast, so sure, fine, not as impressive. Dottie, who I recognized right away, but I didn't, because I don't know this actress by her face. It's her voice. And it's like, oh my god, she sounds like she would be like in Rugrats, like Tommy Pickles or something. I was like, well, shit, she probably is Tommy Pickles. She's Tommy Pickles.
Yeah.
She's also Buttercup in Powerpuff Girls.
I noticed that her voice was very distinct because she has like a raspy quality and kind of like this tomboy quality to her
Mm-hmm.
whole stance. Uh, I don't know how to explain that, but her whole characterization. But yeah, I didn't realize she was Tommy Pickles. I know who she is now that you're telling me this. Like, I understand she's a very prolific voice actor.
Yeah.
I forgot to make note of this. One of the guys, it might have been the guy that from Devo went on to do music for the Rugrats too.
I did know that. I totally forgot about that, though.
Okay, yeah. And I know we had mentioned this guy from Devo in a episode a while ago, and I couldn't find which one that was. So he
I,
also had a career scoring at least TV shows, if not movies as well. When he leaves the bike shop and he sees that his bike is stolen, I remember all of this note for note, like the creepy clown face appearing to be laughing at him, the way it's shot from above, and but I laughed so hard at him passing out at the sight of the chain being broken. And as he's passing out, he's honking the horn that he had just bought.
yeah. Yeah, the shots here definitely different than what we saw in the park and at his house. It's very creepy. The music is really eerie. I wrote it could easily be in a Hitchcock film. It's a lot
Yeah.
of like high pitch quickness. Think of like
Yes.
Psycho, but not quite. And yes, I laughed when he fell over honking that new horn. But what was really cool, it triggered another memory. He's back in the bike shop telling Dottie, and he fell into the
Mm-hmm.
bikes, and of course
Yeah.
knocks all the bikes over.
Yeah, the
And I
line of bikes.
immediately thought of something later in the movie. Like, obviously, this is foreshadowing. That's how movies
Mm-hmm.
work. But it's funny how it triggered a memory of later at the biker bar.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, like you said, the row of bikes goes down like dominoes. I saw this shot and I was like, why did I remember that happening differently? And I
Ah,
realized that I was remembering later with the
hmm
motorcycles. But when he's just so distraught and he's yelling to set up a dragnet. And I literally remember as a kid recognizing that because I would watch Dragnet on Nick at Night. And I'd be like, oh, is that like that other show I watch?
Yeah,
Uh,
I saw Dragnet a Nick Knight here and there. It wasn't my favorite Nick at Night show, but I think as a kid, I wouldn't say I caught the reference, but I was like, oh, that word sounds familiar. Cops are involved. They have to figure out who stole the bike.
hmm For me, I watched a lot of Get Smart on Nick at Night. That was my absolute favorite. And Dragnet would come on after Get Smart. So a lot of times I'd just still be on the couch and I wouldn't want to get up. And so if nothing else, I remember the opening of Dragnet, like the voiceover.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah.
I've always
Uh,
liked watching Get Smart at night at Nick at Night, but earlier in the day on Nickelodeon, watching Inspector Gadget and not realizing until a little later on in life that they
yeah.
were the same person. Like, no wonder why I like these shows.
Right. That's so funny. I love the sight gags after Pee-wee's just sitting outside being sad, and all these different types of bikes are going past him. And this is how I imagine the premiere was. Like, they just got a bunch of very obviously different types of bikes.
Yeah, it's a good way to rub salt in the wound. He's just noticing everyone's out today on their bike or motorcycle or there was like a remote control police bike that went by or something like that, like a little
Yeah,
toy.
yeah.
But yeah, there's bikes all around him, and he can't help but notice because now his is gone.
Yep. I will say this scene of him at the police station where he's frustrated that there's not much the cops can do and the cops don't really seem to care that much. This is the only thing to me that mirrored Bicycle Thieves a little bit because, in Bicycle Thieves, when the guy's bike is stolen, like, he's going to lose his job and jobs are hard to come by anyway. Like, you understand as the viewer why this is so important for him. And like Pee-wee, similarly, not quite as dire, but we understand as the viewer how important his bike is to him. The cops in both movies are very much like, well, there's nothing really we can do. You can go look for it if you want or whatever. They're very just like, I don't know, guys, it's not a murder.
Right, yeah.
But the way that in Pee-wee, the cop asks him something like, is there anyone who would want your bike? Something like that. And the way Pee-wee croaks out Francis's name was so funny to me.
It's almost like he's choking on the word because he's so angry.
Yeah.
It's the best way I can describe it.
So much you can't even say his name. Yeah.
Fucking Francis. So then, since he has to take matters in his own hands, he's marching over to Francis's house. So I already love the score from the breakfast scene. And this is kind of similar. And that upbeat, whatever you want to call it, intense music happens like a few times in the movie. So I think that's why it sticks with me more than the opening theme, which I can't even picture right now or hear in my head, however you want to say that. But he's marching up, the music's great, he's pounding on the door, and he does it like different successions of pounding. It's like slow, then fast and slow. And obviously Elfman is following him or keeping up pace. And I don't know, I love this whole sequence here, but mostly for the music.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because Tim Burton, in one of the interviews I read with him, said he and Danny Elfman tried to treat this like a silent movie where the music is really emphasizing the movements. And he pointed out this scene, especially when Pee-wee knocks on the door.
Boom.
Yep.
Killing it.
Yep.
So I'm watching this now, and I'm impressed more so now with the score. And the shots are great, too. Then instantly change from being like, wow, this is really cool, to a good chuckle when, I don't know, the butler answers the door and he's looking for Francis.
The butler bodyguard, whatever this guy is.
Whatever this guy looks like. He was in a James Bond movie, like Dr. No or something. And he's like, he's having a bath. Oh, really? Where are they hosing him down? I fucking laughed my ass off for that one.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, yes, Francis is a bigger character, like physically, than Pee-wee, but this is something a little kid would say about another little kid. And that's why I think it's even funnier now as an adult.
Well, and I think that's also, at least to me, why the humor translates so well, too, as an adult, because, Pee-wee is odd and childlike, and that makes some of the things read as really strange because, he's a full-grown adult, like, physically doing these childlike things, but then sometimes he's just like a catty bitch. And this is one of those moments.
Yeah. But again, this is like, when he is catty, it's still, in a way, childish. An adult saying these insults is not really insulting, but it works with the rest of his persona.
Yeah. That's true too, yeah. Because he's also never, even when he insults someone, he's never like swearing or talking more in a way that I think an adult would be like, well, like he wouldn't call someone a catty bitch. Like I just
No, he wouldn't do that. If I said someone was getting hosed down, I would probably just be looked at in a certain way, like, oh, what a fucking asshole this guy is.
Yeah. 1000%. I remember this battleship bathtub scene. Yeah. I remember being like, this kid, because especially as a kid, I remember just feeling like Francis was more of a kid. This kid has the biggest bathtub I've ever seen. He has like battleships floating. He has floating, like real bath toys. And then also later being confused about like, why is he wearing his swim trunks in the bath?
Well,
but they just had to, because in the fight scene, like they can't have this guy be naked. So.
Well, there's that, but I feel like you understated something here. It's not a big bath. It's a fucking pool, an indoor pool, and he's treating it like a bubble bath. Like it's legit
Right.
pool. He's wearing his pool trunks. But obviously, yeah, we don't want to see this actor naked. Like it's supposed to be like a kids movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes it even funnier that Pee Wee breaks in and is now in the bathtub, quote unquote bathtub, in his full
Yeah.
on suit still. Because he's just
Yeah.
mad. He's seeing rage. He's being a catty bitch. I'm using your quote here,
Yep. Yep.
and he's threatening to drown Francis. Like the bad side of Pee Wee came out.
Mm-hmm.
This is the rebel in him.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
So he does march in the house, like I said, and before he jumps in the pool, or whatever you want to call it, he busts down the door, and Francis just gives out this shrill screech. I guess he's surprised to see Pee Wee. He's interrupting his playtime / bath time. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not in there to wash up. He's just in there to play. He's a giant child. But they just kind of
Right,
got a good
yeah.
chuckle out of me because I did not expect him to make that noise.
Yeah. Okay, so eventually this fight gets broken up. Francis's dad shows up and he's like yelling at Pee-wee. He looked like he was dressed as a plumber to me. Do you
Like what,
know
like
what
a
I
Super Mario
mean?
brother?
It looks like he was wearing one of the work like jumpsuits.
I
Like a Michael Myers jumpsuit. That's what it looks like.
It does look like that in a way. I saw your note, and then I'm watching the movies. Just know where to put my notes, and I laughed because I see what you're saying, but again, it's one of those like rich adult pajamas where the bottoms match the top, but also because of that, it looks like a one piece
It looks
jumpsuit.
seamless, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he should be
Um
out boating or something
yeah,
because it looks
well,
like it's satin or something nicer than.
that's true. Yeah, I was confused by this outfit and I wrote, are these supposed to be nice PJs actually? And then I was thinking about how we talked about the rich way to say pajamas from St. Elmo's Fire.
Oh yeah, I mean this guy's definitely wearing pajamas.
Pajamas. Hmm.
All right, so obviously Pee Wee's there to accuse Francis of stealing his bike because he offered to buy it earlier, and he even at one point threatened Pee Wee, like, you'll rule the day or something like that, like you're gonna have a bad day today. And again,
Hmm.
more foreshadowing. He tells his dad, promises his dad, and the big butler goon guy that he did not steal his bike, and he makes Pee Wee apologize to him.
Hmm.
Cool. Everything's great. I do like that Pee Wee gets back at both of them by, it's like, oh, I'll make it up to you. You guys want some gum? And he gives them the trick gum. So that's kind of funny. 'Cause, like,
Hmm.
as soon as he was like playing nice and offered the gum, like, yes, Pee Wee's still being vindictive, mean Pee Wee. I like this side
Yep.
of him.
And I remember that gum scene,
Yeah, same.
especially the
The
ink or
black.
whatever it is, like
Yeah.
dripping out of Francis's mouth. I remember
Who,
that
who
absolutely.
drools that much when they chew gum? Come on.
The man baby Francis does.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
Yep.
We cut to a scene in like another room or whatever, and there's this thug with a pompadour and this really annoying laugh. It turns out that maybe Francis was somewhat truthful. He did not steal the bike himself. He hired this goon
Hmm.
to get it. And it's a very quick scene. It just sticks out because this guy is so fucking annoying with his laugh.
Hmm. Well,
And
and it tells us what happened
Yep.
too. Like, so you have to make note. But yeah, Francis gets spooked and he's like, I don't want to go up against Pee-wee. Like, get rid of the bike.
Well, I mean, he did promise his dad. And then as a giant man kid, you're going to be afraid of
Hmm.
your father, right? Like, you don't want to get in trouble.
Sure,
He
yeah.
might take your pool boats away from you or something.
Yep.
But also, I'd be afraid of Pee Wee because this motherfucker came into my house, past my
Hmm.
bodyguard, and tried to drown me in my oversized bathtub. Like, get
It
rid of
was,
the evidence.
yeah. I forgot too how funny it was when Pee-wee's like sneaking into his house and up the stairs. Like, this movie is so funny. I did not realize. I don't know. I just remembered it being a goofy thing I watched as a kid, but it's
I mean, it's still a goofy thing, but now we watch it as an adults.
yeah, yeah. You mentioned this scene in the alley when it's raining. Pee-wee's approached by this group of thugs, I guess.
Yeah.
One of the thugs is Tim Burton.
Nice. It's
That
probably
was
the
his
one.
cameo.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to tell because it's very dark and everyone's soaking wet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the scene is just so random. He's going to like a bad neighborhood. He's distraught. His only lead is turned out to be, well, what he was told untrue.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, which might have this maybe this guy with the speaking role was Tim Burton. I don't know, but he says something like, you're in the wrong part of the neighborhood. This is our town, and they all like kind of circle Pee Wee, and he gives this like he he gives a cat hiss or something like that, and
Yeah, it's
everyone
so
runs away
funny.
from him.
Yeah.
And then he does it again inside to the fortune teller when Madame Ruby's like, "Oh, let me take your coat," and he's like, "It's like, all right, stay wet then, I guess." Fucking grumpy ass Pee Wee.
I wanted to point out the suit that he wears, apparently, as the character of Pee Wee got more popular, Paul Reubens' grandma was constantly calling his parents saying, like, please just let me buy him like a real suit, like a nice suit. And she wasn't understanding that like the suit being dopey and, maybe not fitting him perfectly was part of the bit. But
Right.
she's like, you're on TV, you have to look better.
No, Grandma, this is the joke.
Sitter.
Yeah.
Don't take it off. I completely forgot that this is how he gets led to the Alamo. Like, I
Same.
remembered that he was going to the Alamo. I remembered the basement. Yeah, I forgot about the whole fortune teller thing, but I do remember him trying to hitchhike and his little Texas sign. It's just so funny to me that he's so distraught and missing his bike, but he has time to make like a really cute like Texas cutout sign to hitchhike with.
Or the fake rubber thumb he uses to hitchhike.
I always like the what's like the bundle of stuff tied up on the stick. Like that's such a cartoony
The hobo stick.
thing. Yeah, the hope. Yeah, there you go. No, I remembered all of this, and then Mickey finally picking him up and telling him he was in jail for ripping the tag off a mattress. And I
Hmm.
remember being a kid thinking like, "Oh, damn, that's something you could go to jail for."
Why does that law exist? I don't understand.
I don't know. I just think it's really funny how well they hit it off when watching this back, not remembering a lot of it. I was ready for Mickey to just throw Pee Wee overboard at any time.
Well, Pee Wee sympathizes with him with the mattress law
Oh,
thing.
yeah, because they're like, oh, the cops don't do anything.
Yeah. It is
Yeah.
funny how Mickey is portrayed as a hard-nosed criminal, and all he did was cut the mattress tag off, and he's wanted
Yeah.
by the cops.
Yep.
I will say that after Pee Wee leaves Francis's house, a lot of this until a little later on, I didn't really remember. I mean, little
Oh, me
things here and there,
neither.
like the sight gag with the thumb while he is hitchhiking, sure,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of this other stuff is little foggy for me.
Yeah, same. There were big gaps of this where I was like, was this even in the original movie? Like, I don't remember this at all.
I
Okay.
definitely didn't remember when he's in the car and there's a fork in the highway and he's not looking to his right, but there's a flatbed truck and it has a bunch of,
Mm-hmm.
I want to say a bunch of bikes, but maybe other shit is on there.
Mm-hmm.
But right next to him is his bicycle. And I definitely
Yep.
don't remember going, "Oh no, it's right there, Pee Wee. Just look," as I did like
Mm-hmm.
4 nights ago watching this.
Yeah. I did not remember them driving off the cliff or
No,
them dressing up to fake out the cops.
no, I don't remember that.
I
That was
laughed so hard when the cop was like asking Pee Wee, thinking he's a woman, to step out of the car, and he's like, I just want to see your cute outfit.
yeah, I didn't know what to think. It was kind of weird. I mean, it's supposed to be weird and silly, so like I got a little chuckle, but as it went longer, I'm like, God, what if this happened in real life? This is really awkward. Get out of the car, ma'am. I just
Yes.
want to check you out.
I know. Yes. Don't remember them driving off the cliff, but I remember when he leaves Pee Wee and it's all dark and it's suddenly animated and you just see like Pee Wee's eyes in the
Hmm.
darkness. And
Yeah, I
then
forgot
when
about that.
he like finds a light somehow, I can't even remember how now, and he's surrounded by like mountain lions or like jungle cats. It was something really ridiculous.
It was probably both. There's probably a bunch of
Yes,
pred-
probably. Yeah.
bunch of predators. He I don't want to say bought, but I don't think he exchanged money. But he got some of those things from the magic store, and they were like
Oh, right.
glasses lights or something like that.
You're right. Yeah. I do remember seeing the truck coming down the road and being scared. Like remembering that this was scary. I did not remember why it was scary. I understand now why my husband was a little concerned that this might be too spooky for my kid.
It's funny what's spooky to kids now and what wasn't
Mm.
in 1985.
This is our introduction briefly to Large Marge. She picks up Pee Wee and she's telling this story about the worst car accident she's ever seen. And if you have never seen this movie or if you've just forgotten, this is when she does a creepy face with like big bulging eyeballs. And it's very Tim Burton. I don't know how else to really.
Yeah, she tells a story, and she said that the victim looked like this, and she turns to Pee Wee, and it switches from live action to it's claymation, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of Beetlejuice, just the way all this crazy stuff happens with the face, where quick shot, kind of like all the faces Beetlejuice makes to scare the Deetzes or whatever.
There was a guy brought on to do the special effects. His last name was Chiodo, and I don't have a note of his name. But I remember this because I think it was IndieWire did an oral history of the movie. He was part of the interview, and he said working with Tim Burton was so great because since he was an animator, he was explaining what he wanted it to look like, but then he could also draw exactly what he wanted. But you are right that it's like Tim Burton's vision of what he wanted. I will say too, this was just a nice little story. This guy, Chiodo, he was dating a girl after this movie came out, sometime after this movie came out, and met some of her friends. And her friends said, when we went to see Pee-wee's Big Adventure, she loved this like animated part so much, or this animation so much, she was like, I want to marry the guy who made this. And they had already been dating for a while. They did end up getting married. It's just a very cute little story. But
Did she know that he did it at the time? No.
But yeah, I have a little bit of a story about Large Marge. This is from Diane Salinger, who plays Simone the waitress. It was my first day on the set, and I hadn't done many movies. I was nervous. We were literally in the hair and makeup trailer, and all of a sudden it jolted back. Literally. Somebody stepped on, and the whole trailer went back and forth. This woman got on and said, "What the fuck, goddammit, son of a bitch? I couldn't find this piece of shit place." She sat down next to me in the makeup chair, and I said, "I take it you're Large Marge?"
That's awesome.
And then Tim Burton said, sometimes you get these people and go, oh my God, it is Large Marge. There she is for real. Some people don't need to act. They just be.
Oh, she be, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, so watching this back, I forgot she was a ghost.
Same.
I forgot that when he gets into the bar, like that's the big thing about why everyone pauses to be like, what do you mean Large Marge sent you, you know?
Well, I mean, after the face she makes, I kind of figured it out that she was dead.
I don't know. Anything could be happening, really. I don't know. I was just like, what a weirdo. Like,
I mean, if anyone hasn't seen it, it's a crazy animated face. Like I said, it reminds me of Beetlejuice, who is dead. So when she did that,
okay, fair.
She starts telling the story, and I'm like, okay, it's a creepy story. And then it's like, the face looked like this. I'm like, oh, she is the face. She is the dead. She's just being.
But then they have like, not only do the patrons at the bar or the diner, whatever this place is, inform Pee-wee that, you know, Large Marge died however many years ago. They have like a vigil set up for her. I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. Like
I think
in
that's
the
right.
diner.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like a tiny gravestone with her photo and like, you know, flowers and stuff spread out around it inside this restaurant.
Yeah, it's definitely a truck diner. So
Yeah.
her being a woman of the road is probably how they, remember her, I guess.
Sure, I guess.
I'm adding backstory to Large Marge. I'm sorry.
It's okay. This is when he meets Simone, right? Because he has to wash dishes because his wallet's gone.
His wallet's gone, yeah.
I love when she takes him kind of, I want to say out back. I don't know if that's really accurate, but they're in this spot in the middle of nowhere with these dinosaur statues. And I feel like if you've seen this movie, you understand what I'm saying. And these are real. They're, I think, in a small town in, it's either California or Texas now, I can't remember. But Tim Burton had met the creator, like the guy who designed and built these giant dinosaurs. They're like a roadside attraction. But Simone, the waitress, takes Pee-wee to go sit inside like the mouth of the T-Rex, it looks like, to watch the sun come up. And I laughed so hard when Simone asks Pee-wee if he has any dreams, and she means like things he wants in life, what are your hopes and dreams? And Pee-wee just starts talking about some weird like recurring dream he has.
Like an actual dream.
Like an actual dream, yeah. And she talks about how she wants to go to Paris, but her boyfriend doesn't want to. And Pee-wee says, I bet if he knew how important it was to you, he would change his mind. And I was like, wow, that's so progressive of you, Pee-wee. And Simone's trying to say, well, I really want to, I think she wants to move to Paris, not even just visit. And she's like, but there's this, but there's my boyfriend. And Pee-wee says, everyone I know has a big butt.
Come on, Simone. Let's talk about your big butt.
Yeah. This is great.
Speaking of big butts, earlier on, like 2 minutes before this, I have a note. Is Paul Bunyan getting gas? They show this mammoth of a person. This guy's like 8'8", 5,000 pounds. I don't know. He's a big guy.
He's big.
And he sees Simone leading Pee-wee away from the diner to the dinosaurs. And I'm like, well, that's odd. Clearly something bad's going to happen because this man doesn't look like he ever smiles in his life.
Right.
This is the boyfriend that won't let her go to Paris. So, of course, he's going to be very jealous.
Yes. Yeah, when I saw your note about Paul Bunyan, and I was like, did he get that confused with Simone's boyfriend?
Well, right, because I don't know it's her boyfriend at the time.
We didn't know yet, yeah.
We just see this giant man pumping gas.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like Bluto from Popeye.
Yeah. Yeah, funny how her boyfriend just happens to be there getting gas as she's like taking her break from work with this strange man-child in a gray suit, but it's fine. Mm-hmm. I think what's so funny to me too is that Pee-wee goes all over the country and meets all these people and no one thinks he's weird.
Or they just kind of ignore it. It's like they sweep it under the rug.
With it.
Yeah, like this guy's just weird.
Yep. So another story from Diane Salinger, who plays Simone. She had actually been a waitress as a teenager, first of all. And when she went in to audition for this, I don't exactly know what happened, but she said she just had 20 minutes to prep in the bathroom for her audition. Like sounds like it was a really off the cuff thing. And she was like, well, there's no way I'm going to get this part because I lost every waitressing job I ever had. 'Cause she was like apparently a very bad waitress. But then ends up getting the part. This is a quote from her. I almost turned it down. There was a scene in the script that never made it into the movie with Speck, Pee-wee's dog. In it, the dog licked its butt, then licked Paul's lips. It was a sweet scene, but I thought, I did not do 10 years of Shakespeare to do a movie where a dog licks its butt, then the star's mouth. I was thinking of canceling after I got the role, but thought, no, you shouldn't cancel. It's your second movie. You're just beginning. I'm so grateful I didn't cancel it. It never made it into the movie anyway.
What a quote. I did not do 10 years of Shakespeare to watch a dog lick its ass.
Yeah.
Paraphrasing,
I thought
obviously.
That was right. I thought that was pretty good, though.
Oh my God, that's pretty funny.
Also, she talked about how she was originally from Delaware, and she felt that if she, in her words, spoke the way she spoke from back home, they would never hire her. So she did the Southern accent for her audition and obviously kept it for her character. I guess I'm not familiar with what a Delaware or like East Coast accent is supposed to sound like, and I don't know why it would possibly not get her the role.
I'm familiar with East Coast accents, like plural, like, Boston, different parts of New York.
Sure, yeah.
That's...
I guess I'm thinking further south, Delaware. I'm like, I don't know what that sounds
That's what I was
like.
going to say, yeah. I mean, even further north, like Maine, as a Stephen King fan, I see all these interpretations in the movies. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
after that, I don't until we get to like maybe Georgia or the Carolinas. Like,
Like
what's
actual
Delaware?
Southern. I also couldn't help finding this a little funny too because Simone has a Southern accent because she felt that was going to help her get the part. And I understand, like, small town waitress, it does fit. Even if you don't fully understand where they're supposed to be in the country, somehow it just works. But we had just talked about Andy McDowell not getting roles because of her Southern accent.
Yeah, she could have
So,
easily gotten this waitress role.
yeah, yeah. They wouldn't have had to dub her voice or anything.
Right. So Paul Bunyan scares the bejesus out of Pee Wee because he's like
Mm-hmm.
swinging a giant dinosaur bone at him or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Chases him. Pee Wee jumps on the train. Luckily, it's also going the direction Texas is from wherever they're at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm imagining them going east to west, but I have no idea.
I imagine him going east to west too, but I actually meant to look up if anyone knows where he's supposed to originate from.
Delaware.
Right?
So he jumps on the train. He's now actually hoboing it for real.
Mm-hmm.
And he wakes up next to a man who offers him some sardines.
Yep.
This guy's familiar. He was the flat dude in Beetlejuice slash the old man wearing the Michael Jackson coat in Wedding Singer. This
Oh, we
guy
just see
keeps
him
popping up.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Him and Stillwell.
Yeah. There was another guy. Oh, and I forgot to make note of it. Maybe Stillwell's father. There was another character in this that ended up being the dead janitor in Beetlejuice, I think I read.
Mm.
And then I think Simone went on to be the Penguin's mom in Batman Returns. So there are like little connections
Oh, that
that I
would
saw
make
here and there.
sense. Pee
Hmm.
Wee, well, not Pee Wee. Paul is in Batman Returns. He's Penguin's dad.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh. I forgot about that completely. Okay, yeah. So just little actors here and there sprinkled throughout Tim Burton's
Yeah.
filmography. Not
Yeah.
even like forget Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder. Like, so this hobo on the train offers Pee Wee some sardines.
Yeah.
And in case anyone does not know, tinned fish is very trendy now. My husband in
I,
particular is in his tinned fish era.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but all right.
No, but you have it in your notes that you thought of my husband eating the sardines.
I mean, that's just for you, so you can laugh at me when you were reading this. But I mean, hey,
That's okay. One day my husband will listen to this episode and hopefully laugh at himself.
I didn't want
Um,
to throw your husband under the train, so to speak.
that's okay. I laughed so hard when like Pee Wee eventually launches himself from this train because he's sick of the hobos singing his like dumb songs like Jimmy Crack
Yeah.
Corn or whatever. Like first he's
Yeah.
into it and then slowly he's getting very much over it. But he launches himself off of the train and rolls right into a sign that's like Alamo this way. You're in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I just can't picture someone who's that annoying to someone like Pee Wee,
I know.
where they have to physically hurl themselves from a moving train. You know what?
Yeah.
Was it the singing or was it the smell of the tin fish?
Oh, could have been the tin fish.
Mm-hmm.
I meant to look more into this. Apparently, there are now two basements at the Alamo. There was never a basement during filming, during the time this was written. Now there are two basements. Paul Reubens was a guest judge on the Top Chef season that took place in Texas. I cannot believe I don't remember this. My brother and I, and now my husband, like we're all big Top Chef fans. I know that I watched the Texas season with my husband. I do
Hmm.
not remember Paul Reubens being on it, but they did a challenge at the Alamo and he toured the basement of the Alamo when he was a guest judge on Top Chef.
How do you just add a basement to something like the Alamo?
Yeah, that was my question too. And like, because I'm just like, did they need storage? But also, you're right. Like, how does that work? Because you're messing with the foundation of a historical site. Okay, so obviously, when Pee Wee does get to the Alamo, he realizes after a lengthy tour that he's not allowed to talk through that there is no basement in the Alamo. And everyone
Yeah,
kind of laughs at him.
I didn't know officially there wasn't any basement until I guess recently, but it also makes sense, especially if you got on a tour. Like, where's the basement? And then everyone laughs at him because we just saw the whole fucking thing, bro. Weren't you paying attention?
Yeah, fair, yeah. So he's on the phone with Dottie after leaving the Alamo, and he says something about being in Texas, and she's like, "Are you really?" So he sings a couple lines so that the other people will sing the rest and
Yep.
prove. Yep.
Yeah, I found that funny. Yes, I couldn't remember what my LOL note was. Thank you for.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Although I have a note saying Pee-wee's such a dick to Dottie because as soon as she brings up, I think she might bring up the drive-in again, something a little more personal about like her missing him. He's like, "Oh, it's staticky. I can't hear you anymore. I gotta go." I don't know. I just hated like how mean he could be sometimes.
Yeah, Dottie, for whatever reason, has an infatuation for Pee Wee. And it's obviously one
Mm-hmm.
sided, so, like, can't blame Pee Wee
Yeah,
exactly if he's not into her that way. But I feel like there might be a
sure.
better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
again,
I think,
child.
well, yeah, but I think he's calling to see if she'll wire him money or something.
Yes.
So that makes it, to me, it's like, just be nice to her. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
He ends up at a rodeo. He ends up riding in a rodeo. Oh, because the Paul Bunyan boyfriend comes back looking for him. That's why. And he disguises himself as a rodeo participant. Ends up
Hmm.
apparently setting a record for staying on the bull long enough. I did not remember this at all.
I don't remember any of this. And it's so weird that he jumps on a train and also jumps off a train. And then leaving the Alamo after the phone call, he sees Simone, and she's like, "Oh, I am going to go to Paris after all." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, "Well, that's odd," but she clearly was waiting for a bus, so she probably got a bus there, waiting for another bus because you
Hmm.
bus to Paris all the time.
Of course, of course.
And then Paul
Uh,
Bunyan's there, and it's like, how are these people also in Texas? Like, what the hell? It's too coincidental to me. But yeah, we need him to chase Pee Wee into the rodeo. He's now in a disguise because he always has disguises on him. Now he is being confused with the bull rider, and like all this takes place because of Paul Bunyan. And it's just again, how do we get Pee Wee to do these funny things? Have that scary guy chase him around some more.
of course, yeah.
So he's riding the bull, right, and he falls off, and they save him. The bull chases Paul Bunyan because of his red shirt, and they pull Pee Wee out, and he's I wouldn't say concussed, but maybe he's concussed. I don't know. And they're asking him what he remembers. He's like, I don't remember anything. I just remember the Alamo. And again, it triggers more Texas folk. They're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
woo! They're shooting guns like Yosemite Sam. And
That's so funny. He ends up next at, I have in my notes that it's a Satan bar, but they call themselves some sort of satanic like biker group that are in this bar.
yeah, something
But
like
and I
that.
can't remember exactly what their name is, but it has a sign out front saying there's a public telephone, but then when he walks in, it's obvious he's interrupted something.
Yeah.
And it because he's the outsider, they don't want him there. And I do remember him yelling at them that he's trying to use the phone. I don't really remember a lot of this scene, but I remember him yelling that he's trying to use the phone.
Yeah, I do remember that. And then obviously in like 45 seconds, the infamous or famous, I don't know which one you want to use there, the tequila dance scene,
Yeah.
which I don't remember him stealing or borrowing the shoes from the bar back or whatever. It's like, give me your shoes. And then he was able to like do the dance and stand on his toes. Like, I thought he was just wearing his normal shoes the whole time. Like,
Yeah,
those look like Pee Wee shoes to me.
I did not remember that. I guess I didn't remember what the shoes looked like that he was wearing during the dance
Sure.
sequence anyway, but I definitely remember, well, okay, so first of all, I remember him knocking over all their motorcycles
Mm-hmm.
and then them this leads to them being like we should kill him, and it is very funny though when they're all saying like they're all shouting things they should do to him, and then Pee-wee tries to throw his voice and is like we should let him go.
No!
So funny.
He
But then
tried.
he's like, he tried, and he's like, give me one last wish, and he does this dance. I remember the hands in front and the hands in the back. I don't know how else to describe this dance move, but I remember that for sure.
Everyone knows this dance move. If they've never seen
Yeah.
this movie, they've seen this dance move.
I think that's true.
I
Yeah.
promise you. All the bikers, they're threatening to do different stuff to him, and then I'm calling her biker mama. She shows up.
Hmm.
She's like, "Oh, I'll take care of him." I was like, "Ooh," because she's like, the scary one of the group, which is funny because
Hmm.
she's the only female or whatever. It's supposed to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
silly. This is I forget her real name because to me she's just Elvira, but this is Elvira. Her face looked like the nose and eyes. I'm like, this looks really familiar,
Mm.
and I had to look her up, and there you go.
Nice.
Somehow the tequila dance makes them not want to kill him anymore.
Yeah, they're
Or
like, he's a bro. It's cool.
yeah, and they give him a bike so he can go find his bicycle.
Oh, right.
And it's so funny because he's never you can like you're just assuming he can ride a bike for some reason. I don't know. Pee Wee can ride a motorcycle. He cannot.
Hmm.
He drives directly to his side. I didn't remember that, and it made me laugh.
I laugh so hard at this, especially because it does happen immediately. They're all seeing him off and waving goodbye, and then they're like, "Oh,
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
like the sign isn't far away, but it's not close where he could have steered away from it or like dumped the bike and fell off and like not
yeah."
crashed into it. There's enough time, I think, where if you can't control the bike, you can figure it out. No, it just
Hmm. He drives
beelines
right
right
into
into
it.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Through it too, I think.
yeah. He makes like a person-sized hole in it.
Of
It's
course.
very funny. When he's in the hospital, like, we assume he's unconscious from the accident, he has a dream that is very Beetlejuice-ish because he's going down a hallway with tile, I think like gray and purple tile, and it has like these arches, and just the hallway looks very Beetlejuice.
It looks like when we first see them in the afterlife
Mm-hmm.
in Beetlejuice. Like it looks almost just like that. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Does he see this at the hospital? He's watching TV and there's this like childhood star on a movie set
I
and he's
think
talking
so.
about
The studio gifted him a bike because he did a good job in the movie, or his movie's doing well,
something like
something.
that. The point is Pee Wee sees this kid. The kid has his bike. Now he knows where he has to go.
Yep.
We just saw this kid in Back to the Future though. It's one of Marty's uncles from 1955.
Yeah, I did not catch this at all.
I didn't look this up. I think he was in the Wonder Years. I think he was the older brother.
Hmm. Okay.
Because he looks familiar to me when we watch Back to the Future, but sometimes it's like, well, I've seen this movie a bajillion times. That's why, Joe. Like, no, there's something else to this kid. He's done other things.
This child actor is getting Pee Wee's bike. This leads to Pee Wee kind of breaking into the Warner Brothers lot. If you remember, he sort of pretends to be with a group of executives to get past a security guard. The security guard was Milton Berle, which I did
Really?
not clock. Yeah, I did not clock that at all.
Nah, neither did
Um,
I.
I do remember when he has to go sort of undercover as a nun because they're filming a movie that takes place in an orphanage with nuns, and Pee Wee, dresses as one of the nuns to get close to this kid so we can try to find the bike. And like, I just remember him. I didn't write it down. I should have written this line down when he's like, "Oh, I think we should all just like forgive each other and maybe take the bike somewhere." And then he just like grabs the bike and runs. But it leads to this whole chase through Warner Brothers IP, basically.
Yeah. I don't know if this counts. I'll get your opinion on this. When he first grabs the bike and leaves a lot, he tries to make a left out of the studio, and there are two elephants blocking his path, and they are both painted like blue and purple. I was like, huh, weird. And then as he's continually riding his bike away from the security guards and different people, the music is sped up, and it very much reminded me of the theme that we give to Gulch, aka Wicked Witch of the West, when she's not the witch, when she's on her own bike. And
Oh.
it's not the same, but it's similar.
Mm-hmm.
And it was between the music here and the, let's call them elephants of a different color. Were these
Yeah.
supposed to be Oz references, or am I just reading too hard into this?
So I wasn't sure where you were going in terms of the elephants. I would need to go back and watch this to see what I thought about the music, but I could see there being some sort of homage to, Pee-wee running away on his bike. She's on a bike in that part of the movie. I'm trying to remember now if WB put out Wizard of Oz, or was that Universal? Because that could play into it as well.
It was MGM because it's the lion roar.
Oh, okay.
That's how I remember that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm with you on this one, but also it was Danny Elfman's first score. Maybe he was like, that'd be a fun thing to duplicate. I don't know. So, like I said, he drives through a whole bunch of movie sets, movies in the process of being filmed, and we get a lot of recognizable characters and all this, like Godzilla, and I don't remember what else happens before
Santa.
he. Oh yeah, this.
It's funny because he is evading the security guards in weird Pee-wee means. One example I got really excited for, he pulls a Looney Tunes, a Bugs Bunny, if you will. He goes down an alley and then pulls a backdrop of a road,
Yeah.
so it looks like the road continues, and one of the guys on the bikes goes through it. So we lose. Like, so the more we evade and ditch security guards, the smaller that group of people. But yet it's not, because as they go through these different sets, they collect extras and actors, and you have like a tank, and that's attached to Santa's sleigh, and then Godzilla trips up and falls in the sleigh. It's like it's still the same size, but it's more comical because they're just these actors and characters, victim of circumstance.
Yeah. This eventually leads him to driving through a music video shoot for Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
Um, so Dee Snider and Paul Reubens met at an MTV New Year's Eve party. Always MTV.
Always MTV.
I know. In early 1985, from what I read, they were going to be doing a show at Long Beach Arena. I believe what I read said they were opening for Iron Maiden. And Paul Rubin heard they were going to be in town. And so he called up Dee Snider and was like, this is this vision I have for this scene. Like, would you guys consider doing this? Like, he had the whole thing planned out. It would be him riding through a music video they were trying to film. And Dee Snider thought that sounded awesome, but he assumed that they wanted to use We're Not Gonna Take It or I Wanna Rock, because those were their two big hits. But Paul Rubin was a legit fan and was like, no, no way, I want to use Burn in Hell. And so Dee Snider was even more excited because he was
That's
using
awesome.
like a lesser known song from
Right.
their discography. But Dee Snider, he went on to say that he felt this connection with the character of Pee-wee, or like the Paul Reubens doing Pee-wee, because he felt like they were both sort of pigeonholed as things for kids, and that wasn't initially what they started out as being. Dee Snider wanted to be seen as a legitimate metal band, but he's like, kids came to our shows because everyone just wanted We're Not Gonna Take It, and it just, we turned into like that kiddie metal band.
Hmm. I see that now. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
At first, I'm like, T. Snyder for kids. I don't know how I feel about that quote.
It was sort of like their two big hits kind of
Softened their.
added softened. Yes, I was gonna
Yeah.
say it like dumbed down their edge, but yeah, that's a I get it. Yeah, I wasn't really thinking, like you said, of Dee Snider being like for children, but well, when he explained that he was surprised the studio was okay not using one of those big hits, like I get what he's saying.
Which is pretty cool for him and the band.
Yeah, exactly. But I enjoyed that part. I enjoyed his Tarzan somehow holding the bike between his thighs as he swings on the vine.
Yeah, I definitely remember that from a kid. Just, I think it was
Okay.
probably in a trailer and or a commercial as well. So it's one of those scenes that, just like the dancing on the bar, like if you had never seen the movie, you've probably seen one or if not both of those things.
Right.
Is there an ET reference? I don't know. He flies over the river doing Tarzan, and then he like goes off a ramp, but not very high.
Hmm.
But there's this shot kind of looks like it could be like an ET reference when he flies across the moon. I don't know.
I remembered there being more of an overt ET reference in this, so maybe that's just me misremembering.
I felt the same way. I thought there was like the whole time I'm waiting for it, and then it happens. I'm like, was
Yeah.
that it? Am I not remembering
Yes.
this correctly?
That is exactly what happened with me. I was like waiting for it, and then I was like, do I not have the right idea of this scene in my head? So yeah, because I literally remember one of my parents explaining to me that there's like this famous shot on like the bike flying through the sky in ET or whatever. And I definitely saw this before I ever saw ET. So I did not know what they were talking about.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I love this scene in the pet store where like are we still supposed to be in the Warner Brothers set? I'm so confused about where we are, but there's a pet store that's on fire.
Yeah.
Like it's
I don't
fine.
know if we're on set or not, or he just got out of it. I mean, for all I know, it's
Yeah.
like the back lot, and this is where they get their
Like
animals
there,
for their.
yeah, I
Sure.
kind of had that sort of an idea too. But this pet store's on fire. Every time he walks in the pet store, the first animal he sees is a snake in a aquarium, I guess. I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. Snake is the first animal he keeps encountering, and he's always like, oh, and like kind of shrivels because he obviously doesn't like the snake. And he'll go rescue some other animals first. I did think it was funny that he lets this monkey out first because he's like, oh, you could help me.
Yeah.
Um, and he's letting, there's like dogs, there's cats, there's birds, there's all these different, there's rodents.
Rats.
Mm-hmm. And then it's like, finally, I think there's just nothing else to let out. And you see him like come out of the store holding all these snakes as he slowly like falls to the ground.
Yeah. As
Because he hates
faints.
the snakes so much. I know it. This killed me. I was laughing so hard.
This is one of the scenes I remember the most. Just the tequila dance, but that's because we see it everywhere in pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
So this scene and the Rube Goldberg breakfast sequence, I don't know. I feel like I've rewatched those scenes a bajillion times and not the rest of the movie because there's a big part between those I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember the thing on fire. I remember him going past the snakes, and every time, like you said, quivering and making different snarls and nasty faces
Yeah,
and passing
yeah.
out afterwards. But also, again, it's the same music from the breakfast scene. It's that intense, pumped
Oh,
up.
yeah.
So that's another thing like that connects them for me. And apparently, I really love Danny Elfman in this movie.
Yeah, that's okay. I get it. I did not remember this scene at all, which might have been why I found it so funny.
Oh, you didn't remember this one? This is
The
like
pet store scene? No.
Yeah. Oh wow,
No.
it's funny because it's one of the ones I remember distinctly.
Oh, no. No, I did not
Weird.
remember this. I pointed out that when Dottie shows up with Pee Wee's bike, poor Dottie, you could tell she thinks he's gonna hug her or thank her or something. He's just like, oh my God, the bike! And he just completely ignores her.
Doesn't he hug
I
the bike or something?
I think, yeah, he shows a lot of affection to the bike, yeah. Um, I did like how meta it is that Pee Wee signs a deal with Warner Brothers to turn this into a movie in order to not get in trouble for driving through their set and wrecking things.
Mm-hmm.
I completely forgot about this whole ending where they're showing the resulting movie at the drive-in, and
I
he's
kind of
kind of.
remember it.
I remember the very end of him and Dottie, like their silhouettes riding off on their bikes.
Mm-hmm.
I did not remember these scenes where Pee-wee is in the movie because he doesn't play himself in the movie. He plays a bellhop at the hotel that these other characters are checking into, and he's so bad. He keeps looking at the camera.
He's mouthing the other people's lines.
He was so
So
funny.
I do remember this part vaguely because I remember the movie about the movie, which is always fun.
Hmm.
I remember, but didn't realize how important this was. He's finally at a drive-in with Dottie,
Yeah, yeah.
but I also just remember the movie scene in the movie. However, I didn't know because I was little that this is James Brolin, Josh's dad, and Morgan Fairchild, which I remember recognizing her as a kid. I don't know why. I think she was just one of those people that are always on
She
TV,
was,
commercials.
yeah.
She was everywhere.
I knew who she was as a kid, and I recognized her immediately, like watching this back. I
Hmm.
didn't recognize James Brolin at first. But yeah, I recognized her immediately. And yeah, I don't know why I knew who she was as a kid either, but I did.
Yeah. I definitely didn't know who James Brolin was as a kid. and
Mm-hmm.
I only clocked him here because, like, man, this guy looks like he could be Josh Brolin. Oh, I bet I know who he is. He looks like his son. Oh yeah, okay.
There you go.
It's so this movie that they're doing is, I want to say, kind of like a James Bond esque movie, especially
Yeah.
because the music is triggering that for me. Some guys show up and Morgan and James are fighting the bad guys, and then she just kind of leans against the tree and watches him take out these other bad guys.
That was
Um,
funny.
and then yeah, I don't know. Oh, she gives like this like kind of sensual line, which Dottie repeats later to Pee Wee, like, "Oh, I'm heated up" or something like that, because the
Mm-hmm.
bike is a motorcycle, I believe, in this version of the
Oh
movie.
yeah. Mm-hmm. This was so funny to me, like Pee Wee delivering candy to all the friends he made along the way that are there to see the movie. But maybe it's just to Dottie in particular, like he throws the candy at her. But I thought he was kind of throwing stuff at some of the other people too.
He walked past the bikers and threw a bunch in the air,
Oh, right. Okay.
but yeah, he like throws it at Dottie though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
He's
think,
mean to Dottie.
yeah, it's, well, you know what though, maybe, thinking back to how we were saying it's very much like he's kind of a giant boy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's like the quote unquote pulling at the pigtails. Like maybe this is how he shows affection. He doesn't know how. It's like, oh, I don't like you, Daddy. Don't come to the movie
Maybe.
with me. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a
maybe.
that's a stretch. It's a stretch. We see all the friends he made along the way, like you said. But I want to point
Mm-hmm.
out my favorite is Mikey because he's watching the movie in like a prison bus. Like he's leaning out the window of the prison bus, and the guard is
Yeah.
there, and he gives him like a foot long that has like a file in it or something.
Yeah.
He gets caught though. They catch him with a metal detector. But
Yeah.
that was my
Oh no, I
favorite bit.
think that there's like a guard that's like, let me inspect that first, and he just like pulls it out. It's covered in
Yeah,
mustard.
it's got like he's like
Yeah.
wands it though, like a metal wand or
Oh
something.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So Francis shows up with some reporters because he's trying to make himself the story of like, I know Pee Wee personally, I'm his good friend. One of the reporters that has a line is Phil Hartman.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you have anything else you want to say, but I noticed that when the credits rolled, Pee Wee is credited as himself.
I wanted to add that Francis, like you said, is making it about himself, and the way he's doing it was taking credit for the whole story to have happened because he was the one that got his bike stolen. I was like, Francis, you asshole! Like this is not going to work out for
Oh,
you.
right.
He's
Yeah.
like, if it wasn't for me, Pee Wee, you wouldn't have traveled the country and met all these people. Blah 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 blah. But yeah, it is funny that Pee Wee is credited as himself, and I really like that. Actually, I like that
Yeah.
Paul Reubens. I don't know if this puts his ego in check or makes it bigger, where the character is bigger than the actor. I can't tell what side of that ego coin it falls under, but it's. I think
Yeah.
it's very fun for me that, especially that we see him come on later as like Pee Wee does other things. He's does a
Hmm.
TV show, other movies, and whatnot. Like it's like a Mr. Bean. Like the
Yeah.
character lives beyond the actor.
So I started watching the documentary about him. I think it's called Pee Wee as Himself, the one that
Mm-hmm.
I referenced earlier on HBO. He was really into the idea of performance art as a high schooler, and then into college he went to Cal Arts and was like, that's what he thought for sure he wanted to do. He almost joined some sort of performance art troupe in San Francisco after college. So I feel like that rolls into that,
Okay.
knowing he had that background. But from what I remember reading, he eventually did, use his real name to credit himself later. But for a few years, he was just Pee Wee is Pee Wee.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
back before you can just IMDb these people, like I was doing the whole movie.
Right?
It also works to build this character to kind of like, I know you weren't a wrestling fan, but like back in the day, people thought wrestling was real. And so
Hmm.
people probably thought Pee Wee was real because he's giving his own credit as Pee Wee. He's almost
Hmm.
hiding behind that facade to
Yeah.
make it larger than the movie itself.
Hmm. Okay, so Pee Wee's Big Adventure was made for $7 million. It grossed 40.9 million domestically. Apparently, it was never released outside of the US. Tim Burton had made a comment about that. But generally, reviews were great. Critics thought it was funny, charming, stayed true to the original character of Pee-wee while still being silly and fun enough for all ages. Lots of quotes, like we said earlier, of children of all ages would enjoy it. Variety compared Paul Reubens to Charlie Chaplin or Buster Keaton, which is just huge praise.
Yeah, that's pretty big. I mean, I'm over
Yep.
here like he's like Mr. Bean, and then these guys are like Chaplin and Keaton, which I guess
Yep.
you can argue maybe if Mr. Bean can kind of float around that orbit as well.
Roger Ebert never officially reviewed it, but he later listed this as one of his guilty pleasure movies, which, like, it doesn't even have to be a guilty pleasure. That's fine. But I wanted to include his quote. The movie is not just a strange little man acting goofy. Pee-wee has created a whole fairy tale universe as consistent and fascinating as Alice's Wonderland or the world of the hobbits in Lord of the Rings. Pee-wee's Big Adventure is one of those movies like The Wizard of Oz, I think, that kids can look at in one state of mind while the grown-ups enjoy it on a completely different level. I agree with that assessment of, like, it works on so many different levels that obviously I loved this as a kid. There are so many fantastical things, but I still thought it was hilarious watching it back now.
Yeah,
There was one bad review that kept getting pointed out, ironically from Gene Siskel, who, usually would be reviewing things along with Ebert. He gave it a 0, which
damn.
rarely happens from what I understand in his personal rating system. He said Pee-wee was only tolerable in small doses and mentioned that Pee-wee had guest spots on Letterman, and that was maybe the extent that Pee-wee could be tolerable. And I guess I did not understand all the places this character had shown up leading up to the movie, because this negative review is the first thing I heard about him doing guest spots on Letterman.
Hmm. I would assume they promoted the movie, and based on the credits alone, I'm also assuming Paul Reubens did not do any of the work. Pee-wee did.
Right. But no, I think he would like show up doing little skits on different shows like that, even before the movie.
Yes.
That's the impression I have been getting. But you're right about the promotion too, probably. 14 versions of the bike were commissioned for the movie. In 2025, the Alamo announced that they officially acquired one of them. It would be on permanent display at the Alamo Visitor Center and Museum, which makes me a lot more interested to go visit the Alamo sometime.
Is it on display in one of the basements?
I know, right? Visitor Center, so maybe not.
Maybe not.
In August 2025, Paul Reubens' own copy of the bike was donated to the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures in Hollywood. He had left this to them, I think, as part of his will after he passed. I just wanted to make a little note about the TV show. We've already mentioned it, but executives at CBS approached Paul Reubens' manager at that premiere in LA and wanted to know if Pee-wee was interested in doing a cartoon show. Paul Reubens wanted to do a live action children's show and asked what they thought about that idea. Obviously, they went with it because that's kind of what we did. I guess it was sort of a mashup of animation too, though.
There was some moments in there, yeah.
I have a quote from Paul Reubens. I was thinking about how important all those kids shows were to me when I was a kid, and how much I feel like they affected me, and that just seemed really exciting to me. I was really excited by the idea that doing a real kid show could potentially affect kids in an amazingly positive and great way. And it was a year later that Pee-wee's Playhouse debuted.
I find it funny that at the movie premiere that they asked his manager if he wanted to do a cartoon. Well, first of all, I find it impressive that they watch this movie and like, we got to get a show with this guy. The funny part is you see Pee-wee as the character. Why would you want to do like a cartoon? Like I'm glad that Paul Reubens like, no, I want to do Pee-wee live action style. We can have claymation and animation as well. But like to me, it seems like a no-brainer. Like you're falling in love with this character and asking this guy's manager right away if he wants to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Keep that momentum. I don't know. I feel like a cartoon might take away from just like Rubens's physical personality on the screen.
Yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. The only thought I had was we've seen this happen a few times already, right? Like Ghostbusters was turned into a cartoon show, Beetlejuice, even though that came later. So I don't know if that's just if that was everyone's first thought
Okay.
was
Yeah.
and also to make it a kids movie, maybe they felt like it had to be a cartoon because you really didn't have there weren't a lot of I guess live action or like things with actors in it for kids now that I'm thinking about this at that time. There was like Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. And that's like partially puppets, if not mostly puppets.
Right. It's not fully just
Yeah.
adults talking to you or whatever. Yeah. Paul Reubens had said in that documentary that he loved the Little Rascals and Mickey Mouse Club growing up. So you could see, I think, where having watched that bit of the documentary, you can definitely see where his inspiration came from for that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
I just can't believe that up until 2 hours ago, I I swear the show came first, but like I never watched it, or at least I saw it here and there. And it's
Yeah.
funny. I was like, well, my first memory is the movie, not the show. And you're like, well, dumbass, it's because this show didn't exist yet. Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's
When did it? You said it aired a year later. So if the movie is 85, it came out in 86, if I'm doing math right.
yeah, I think the show I thought it lasted till like 91 or something.
Hmm.
But no, they really capitalized on it like while he was popular from the movie. It started in 86, it lasted 5 seasons, so till 1990.
Okay. Pee Wee's Playhouse, you said 5 seasons, 86 to 90.
Mhm.
And I didn't know there were movie sequels until, I don't know, a couple days ago. There are two movie sequels, both were standalones, so they didn't tie into each other or the original movie, just the Pee Wee character, obviously. What I find interesting off the rip is that the first one, Big Top Pee Wee, was in 1988. So this is while the show is going on.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. Again, I for some reason I thought the show was older.
No, growing up I just assumed he got popular because of his kid show and then they let him do a movie because he got so big from the show.
Hmm.
So, I get that.
So anyway, Big Top Pee Wee, 1988. Director Randall Kleiser, which I didn't recognize the name until I looked him up. He did Grease.
I guess I didn't know who the director of Grease was.
Neither did I. Apparently, they wanted Tim Burton to return, and why wouldn't you? But he was
Mhm.
about to begin work on Beetlejuice. So I guess priorities were their line was drawn, and I mean we wouldn't have Beetlejuice without it. Paul Reubens acted as a producer as well as Deborah Hill, which you would remember as we talked about Halloween.
I thought her name sounded familiar, so yeah.
And it's just fun making these connections. Is Pee Wee Halloween. I'm not saying you can't produce or direct or star in all these different kinds of movies, but it's
Right, it
when
is
you're reading it
funny.
on paper, it's
Yeah.
goofy. Danny Elfman was involved. He had to compose new music though because the score from Big Adventure was apparently contractually restricted.
Hmm.
So he wrote new
Okay.
music for this one. I would assume.
Interesting.
Just like Big Adventure, lots of little cast members, different little bit roles. The list was very long. Some names that popped out to me: Chris Christopherson
Hmm.
and Dustin Diamond, from Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
Feel like that makes sense for some reason. I don't know why.
Kind of, yeah.
And Benicio del Toro.
That doesn't make sense.
What was he doing in '88? I don't know.
I don't know.
Pee Wee's Big Top, apparently.
Yeah.
Little background. Following the success from the 1985 movie, Rubens signed a developmental deal with Paramount Pictures to write, produce, and or direct additional projects with the character Pee-Wee Herman. That's a pretty good deal, I would say. This
Hmm.
movie got him a TV show and a movie deal, like other movies.
A multi-movie deal, yeah.
That's impressive. Big Top Pee-Wee was the first project in the deal to go into production. Have you seen this? Because I have not seen this.
No, although you said this deal was with Paramount, that's probably why they couldn't use the music because he was with Warner
Warner
Brothers
Brothers.
before, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I have not seen this. I don't think I knew this existed.
Question here: if Warner Brothers had the score rights for Elfman, why could the character Pee-wee go to Paramount? Or probably Reubens owned that himself, I would imagine.
Yeah, he probably made sure something with the initial contract was that he would retain rights to the character.
I mean, I would.
I mean, yeah, especially if they'll let you. They probably
Yeah.
didn't know what a big pop culture icon they had on their hands until
And well,
the movie
before the
came out.
movie, he had the stage show and did stand-up bits, so it's kind of, I think he probably already had that locked down
Hmm.
somewhere. Hmm.
Oh, that's a good point too. Yeah, because he had been doing this character for so long.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm thinking of the Naked Gun movies where those initial creators and writers lost the rights to the characters, but they had developed them for this movie for that studio, and
Right.
Pee-wee
Slightly
existed
different.
before this.
Yeah. Well, good for
Okay.
Mr. Reubens.
Yes.
All right, so back to Big Top Pee-wee. Mr. Pee-wee lives on a farm where he grows vegetables and conducts agronomical experiments with the aid of his assistant Vance, a talking pig.
Sure. Mhm.
He has daily lunches with his fiancee, Winnie, and he also annoys the local town folks. As you
Okay.
do, Pee-wee, you can see that. A big storm blows through town, somehow leaving a circus in Pee-wee's backyard. Pee-wee becomes friends with the ringmaster and falls in love with a trapeze artist, Gina. Both Gina and Winnie get mad at Pee-wee for leading them both on, and they both leave him. Somehow he convinces Gina that she is his true love, while Winnie forgives Pee-wee because she is happily dating all four of Gina's brothers at the same time.
Okay. I mean, good for you, Winnie, I guess. Also, justice for Dottie.
She's out of the picture. Warner Brother owns her too.
I know.
She's making Rugrats. She's fine.
Yeah.
So Pee-wee wants to join the circus, but lacks any talent. Gina gifts him her dead father's costume as a sign of love, who apparently died attempting the Spiral of Death act.
Okay.
So not only is he dead, but he, I'm assuming, wore that outfit while he died, and that's a gift for Pee-wee. Right? Like, because he died during an act, and anyway,
Yeah.
that's gross. That's weird. I don't like it.
That's gross. Moving on.
The elderly townsfolk, of course, hate the circus and they want it gone.
Of
Mace,
course.
who is the ringmaster, he attempts to win them over by creating a new show highlighting the American farm. This doesn't work, and the sheriff threatens to arrest Pee-wee on a bunch of bogus charges if the circus doesn't leave. So Mace tells everyone they have to pack it up and move on.
Hmm.
So then Pee-wee remembers that one of his experiments, a serum, that when applied to his hot dog tree, I'll let that sink in, a hot dog tree, he made the hot dogs that grew on the hot dog tree, they shrunk to cocktail weenies. He feeds the elders of the town, the grumpy old folks, these weenies that cause them to shrink into children who are now excited about the circus.
Okay.
They perform the American Farm Act, Pee-wee walks the tightrope, and Winnie gets engaged to all four of the brothers.
Also, the American Farm Act sounds like a political thing to save farmland.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
what I could kind of gather from that. It grossed $15 million against a $20 million budget. So not as successful as the previous film, obviously.
Yeah.
Negative reviews, critics calling it inferior to the previous film. Mr. Ebert gave this film 2 stars in his print for the Chicago Sun-Times, writing the film was, quote, not as magical as the first film in the series. Both him and his cohort Siskel gave the film thumbs down.
Okay.
Clearly Siskel was not a fan of Pee-wee from Go, though, so if
Yeah,
this is not as
right.
good as the first one, he's not going to like the second.
Yeah. Siskel just doesn't like Pee-wee, I think.
I mean, that is an annoying pill to swallow. If you don't like that kind of humor, you're not gonna go very far.
Mm-hmm.
During a 1988 TV special, Paul Reubens acknowledged that the long hours of circus training undertaken by the film's actors and that they spent a year and a half working on the movie. He also humorously compared himself to actors James Cagney and Spencer Tracy, ended up by saying that Big Top Pee-wee was, quote, at least as good as Police Academy.
Okay.
You know what
Um,
it wasn't compared to?
mm.
Porky's.
Yeah, this is probably the first time we haven't had someone being like, why isn't this more like Porky's? So in that documentary I watched about him, I can't remember. It was sometime before high school. His family moved to Sarasota, Florida, and that was a really big circus town. And he got really into circus performances, the whole kind of lore of the circus. And there's even an art museum in Sarasota that was started by who are the famous circus, the Barnum and Bailey, like one of those guys
Okay.
started an art museum. So it's huge. And he went to like a summer camp where you learned how to do circus tricks.
Yeah, it seems to me, hearing some of these quotes and what he grew
Mm-hmm.
up watching and stuff, that he definitely wanted to be a performer. Even in these movies, like, this one is about a circus. The next one I'm about to do, he originally wanted to, in the film, wanted to be like a singer, a famous singer. And it just seems to all
Mm-hmm.
kind of tie in. He must have loved being compared to Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin because, again, I mean, Buster Keaton, he was in the circus, was he not?
I feel like yes, or at least his parents were. That was like
Before,
his start, like growing up in those
that's what I
circus.
thought. 'Cause he's more physical than Chaplin, if I remember correctly.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe you are correct. Yeah, I had no idea this existed. I'm sort of curious to seek it out only because now having watched the documentary, I understand he had this background somewhat in the circus.
Which I didn't know, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah. It sounded like he always knew he wanted to be some sort of a performer.
Kind of see it a little bit in Big Adventure where he's accidentally in the rodeo.
Yeah. Hmm.
Second sequel, Pee Wee's Big Holiday. Big Top, Big Holiday, Big Adventure. Everything's big with Pee Wee, huh?
Of course.
Big personality. This came out in 2016, directed by John Lee, written by Paul Reubens and Paul Rust, produced by Paul Reubens and Judd Apatow.
Nice.
So also starring Joe Magliano. Sure. Another
Yeah.
big cast, bunch of names. Something that popped out I thought I should write down for the podcast is David Arquette from Scream.
Yeah. I could definitely see him being in this, not Joe. I'm not even going to bother with the last name there. I know who he is. I can picture him. I'm not going to.
For typing purposes, when I kept referring to him, I just kind of thought of like Joey Pants. I just call him Joe Man.
Yeah.
So I kept
That's
spelling his
fine.
name wrong every time.
Hmm.
A little background on this one is apparently Paul Reubens often talked about two other scripts he had written for future Pee-wee Herman films. One was more of a dark black comedy, while the other was going to have claymation and puppets and fantasy atmospheres. I guess they were referencing H.R. Puffin stuff, Wizard of Oz. At
Okay.
one point, Reubens mentions that one of the two films could be animated using mocap, kind of like Polar Express.
Hmm.
So I think the whole thing was going to be like that, I would imagine.
Yeah.
At some point, Tim Burton and Johnny Depp were apparently both approached for the project, but both declined.
Okay.
June 2010, it was announced Paul Reubens was working with Judd Apatow on a new Pee Wee Herman feature film set up at Universal Studios, with Reubens and Paul Rust set to write the script. 2015, Netflix announced the film would be titled Pee Wee's Big Holiday. So this is 2016. Big Adventure is
Yeah.
85. Some years have passed. They did digital de-aging on Pee-wee for a more youthful appearance, as Reubens felt the character, quote, doesn't work to me with age mixed into it.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's supposed to be this like ageless man, boy, child guy, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah. I
if
feel
Pee-wee has
like
wrinkles, it'd be weird, right?
I do think it would be. I also think I don't know, Pee Wee Herman to me, it's like he doesn't have an age. I don't even know if he really has a gender. Like, he might as well be asexual in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I just feel like he is Pee Wee. And
He
I
is
think
Pee-wee, yeah.
if he looked obviously older, I do kind of think that would take away from some of it.
Yeah. But speaking of that technology, Rubens stated that he was kind of concerned initially when discussing it with Apatow because of the cost,
Hmm.
and that the results in the film had made him feel he could continue portraying the character for several more years. So obviously he liked the way it looked. It must not have cost too much, or maybe he
Yeah.
took less pay. I don't know.
Or they just had Netflix money.
Or they just had Netflix money, yeah.
Yeah.
Which they clearly did. They got him and Joe Magliano,
Mm-hmm.
Michelangelo, Joe Man.
It's
Um,
fine. Joey Mans.
no, what sucks about him being in this movie, he plays himself. So I'm gonna have to say this 100 times. So, all right, here we go. Pee Wee lives in the small town Fairville. Again, he loves this like small, quaint little paradise, and then he has to explore the world. It's like a boy leaving the nest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, he works as a fry cook at a local diner.
Okay.
He meets and befriends Joe Magliano. He must come in and get some food, obviously.
Right.
And seeing the small town of Fairville, Joe Man convinces Pee Wee to go to New York City and attend his birthday party.
Okay. They just hit it off right away.
So he works up the courage and he does leave Fairville. And
Okay.
between that and New York, as you would imagine, a lot of shit happens. And I just list it. It's a list because it's just
Okay.
too much.
Okay.
He attempts to help three ladies he thought were in danger, but it turns out they are bank robbers and they jump in his car and now he becomes their getaway driver.
Okay.
They eventually, after they get away, they steal his car. So they dump him to the side and take his car.
Okay.
He's hitting the roads again. He's hitchhiking. He gets a ride from a traveling salesman, and the
Okay.
salesman takes him to a creepy snake farm. And for some reason, Pee Wee is gifted a disguise kit.
Okay.
He tries to hitchhike, but no one will pick him up. He ends up staying the night in a farm.
Okay.
He is introduced to all 9 of the farmer's daughters, whom all
Nice.
flirt with Pee Wee, to which Farmer Brown encourages Pee Wee to marry one.
Mm-hmm.
But at the church, Pee Wee puts on a disguise and he sneaks away.
So it gets all the way up to an actual wedding.
Apparently so, yes. I like that Winnie marries 4 brothers.
Yeah.
9 women are in love with Pee Wee. This is ridiculous.
I keep thinking of the musical Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, although that's not entirely how this is lining up.
No.
But just because he brought up like Pollyanna, like it's kind of the same time period. This is all I can think of now.
He gets a ride in an RV from 4 hairdressers.
Okay.
He also meets Penny King and his flying car. He gets a ride in the flying car. The flying car crashes into a forest. In the
Okay.
in the forest, we meet Grizzly Bear Daniels, who, because why not?
What?
Yeah, I can't even read this out laughing. He promises to help Pee Wee out of the forest, but really leads him into a cave, which then Pee Wee gets scared and flees. Why is
Okay.
everyone trying to lead Pee Wee to scary things?
I don't know.
Poor Pee Wee. He just wants to go to Joey
Yeah.
Mann's party. From the forest, we wander into an Amish community where he discovers that the lady bank robbers are hiding out.
Oh.
They steal a horse and buggy, and Pee Wee like somehow goes with them because he's trying to get to New York. But they feel bad, and he convinces them to leave some money. I'm assuming from the bank robbery,
Ah.
so the community can replace what was stolen from them. They all travel to New
Okay.
York together. So it's hey, we're gonna steal this stuff, but let's leave money to buy their new one. I guess that's nice of him, right?
Yeah. Sure.
He used to do a TV show for kids. You got to make sure that some positive life lessons are floated in there, right?
There you go. Yeah.
All right. So in New York, the bank robbers get arrested. Pee Wee falls down a well in Central Park. Joe Mann is sad because he thinks Pee Wee ghosted him. Turns on the TV and sees local police and fire talking about a boy that fell in the well. So Joe Mann sneaks out of his own party to help. Because, he's Joe Magliano, Michelangelo, Joe Muscle Man.
Let's fall down a well in Central Park.
It's Pee Wee. So, because Big Buff Joe Muscles is helping this boy that
Oh,
fell down a well.
he has a third iteration of his name now.
Oh, he's got 20. I don't know. I'll make it different every time. But because Joe Magliano is helping this presumed boy that fell down a well, now it gets national coverage, right? everyone we've seen along these way that he's encountered, for some reason, are all watching it on TV. This includes like the women in prison, the Amish people, I'm assuming, because that's probably a good sight gag to see Amish people watching TV,
Oh yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. Joe gets Pee-wee out of the well via magnet that he had in his jacket pocket.
Jeez.
Joe then shows Pee-wee a mini version of Fairville, like a little model that he built, which includes a treehouse for them to hang out in.
Okay. He's really been thinking about Pee-wee this whole time, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Back in Fairville, Pee-wee is fry cooking it up again. He is showing the patrons items from his trip when in walks Joe Magliano, and he offers Pee-wee a ride in his motorcycle.
So am I to assume, like, did Joe move there?
He just likes riding his bike through town, I guess. He's got a cool motorcycle. Why not?
Okay. Well, this seems
Uh,
like a very fast friendship.
yeah.
I know I had heard about this one when it came out. I guess I didn't realize it came out all the way back in 2016. I felt like it was more recent.
Same.
I haven't seen it, but I remember hearing about like Netflix doing a Pee-wee movie.
Yeah, I, for some reason, picturing it during COVID because that's when random things would show up and you're like, oh, this is happening, because I don't know, people are
Yeah.
just releasing stuff for us to watch at home because what else are we doing?
Yeah.
But that's, I think, as soon as I heard about it, I forgot about it.
Yeah, same.
So, unlike the first standalone, Big Holiday actually received some positive reviews from critics. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an 80% approval rating, and the general critical consensus reads that the simple story is a little short on laughs, but there's plenty of sweet wackiness for Pee-wee Herman fans to enjoy. And
Nice.
on Metacritic, the film holds a score of 63 out of 100, indicating, quote, generally favorable reviews.
Yeah. Interesting.
I like the 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, 63 out of 100. I feel like that's not that great mathematically. Like, if that was a test, I'd be not happy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
80% Rotten Tomatoes. But
80%, yeah.
it just seems it maybe not as good as Big Adventure, but more favorable than Big Top.
Well, I mean, I think as with most things, you don't usually top the original unless you're Ghostbusters 2. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm kind of intrigued to check this out because this sounds so bonkers with the actor playing himself and he and Pee-wee become besties and he rescues him by magnet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I broke it down in a ridiculous way, but one could do the same thing about Big Adventure. He goes from A to B, meets a bunch
Hmm.
of weirdos along the way, does weird things, escapes them somehow, one way or the other, like throwing himself off of a train.
Hmm.
So I feel like this fits the formula more to Big Adventure, where based on
Yeah.
what we read here for Big Top, it's all happening in his backyard. Yes, there's going to be a
Hmm.
bunch of weird characters. Maybe just people want to see Pee-wee be a vagabond. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's what he does.
Hmm.
So did Pee-wee's Big Adventure hold up for you?
When viewing it, taking notes, I found myself laughing at parts of it, but the parts I was like, I don't remember a lot of this. But then those big scenes I remembered really brought me back into the living room at my parents' house when I was a kid. I was talking a lot about the music. That's, like food, triggers your memory a lot.
Hmm.
And then honestly, I was on the fence. And then the discussion, talking about how often I was laughing while taking notes. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I did enjoy it more than I thought I did. And I guess I would say that it does hold up for me. And maybe not as well as other films in the season or in general, or other Tim Burton movies, because it's so weird thinking that it's a Tim Burton movie. To me, really, it's a Pee-wee Herman movie that
Yeah,
Tim
yeah.
Burton just got a
Happened
job.
to, yeah.
Yeah, there are droplets of Tim Burton style in here, as we see and talked
Hmm.
about, and just as a film, I feel like it holds up. It Nothing too 80s is happening besides all the Goldberg machines.
Yeah.
Nothing in it screams like it's tied down to a decade or time period. I think that's maybe
That's
part
true.
of the allure with Pee-wee Herman as a character.
Yeah.
ageless, sexless,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Like he's just, I don't know.
He just is. Yeah.
He just be.
Yeah, he just be. Yeah, I think it held up for me a little better. I just had so much fun watching this again. I mean, part of it, especially in the beginning, was that it was taking me back to watching it as a kid. I was suddenly remembering all these fun things, especially at the beginning, but it was still so funny to me. I kind of was wondering why I hadn't revisited it before now. So it actually got a Criterion release, I think last year.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm kind of interested to see maybe the next time Criterion has a sale, maybe I pick that up and see what kind of artsy fartsy film essays they had to say about Pee-wee's Big Adventure. But I was shocked at the pedigree it has, like doing the research. But
Yeah.
it's definitely something that I am interested to watch more moving forward. Like I'd kind of forgotten about this movie completely, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I definitely forgot about it just
Hmm.
because it wasn't one of my favorites growing up, but I did enjoy it. It's so funny, like doing the podcast, the note taking either enhances or mutes the movie for me, like
Mm,
depending on how the movie affected me as a kid. Like Back to the Future versus Pee Wee. Like I was had to remind myself to take notes for Back to the Future, and I'm just watching it, googly eyes, in love with it. Where Pee Wee, I'm
yeah.
like type, 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 haha, funny, type, 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 type. Luckily, I was watching it with my wife, who liked the movie as a kid too, and she was texting her brother about, "Oh my god, I can't believe we're watching this movie again." And so that kind of kept me in the movie a little bit more because I'm sitting there watching it with someone who's more enthralled with it because she's not taking notes. And of
Yeah.
course, our discussion. Oh yeah, I did laugh at this part. Oh, it is funny.
Hmm.
So it kind of helps. Maybe I'll rewatch it in a month or so when I'm not doing it for this, or I can just
Yeah.
grab
Just
some
watch it.
popcorn and yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited to show it to my kid and see what he thinks.
I feel like he would love it.
I think so too. I think he would just love the whole concept of Pee-wee Herman.
Yeah,
Well, we would love to hear your thoughts on Pee Wee's Big Adventure, as well as your own favorite films from 1985. You can find us on Instagram at Back Through the Lens Pod and on Facebook at Back Through the Lens. You can also email us at backthroughthelenspodcast@gmail.com. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating and review. It's the best way to support our show.
if you enjoyed our show today, please give us a like and follow for updates on new and future episodes. Our show is produced by our hosts, Rachel Campbell and myself, Joe Siomic, with additional help and support from Peter Tillip of LPV Productions. Peter, Rachel, and I are also the executive producers. Our awesome logo is brought to you by Tom Fracci, and our wonderful theme song is by Matt Tarek. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more trips into our movie watching pasts on Back Through the Lens. I almost lost it reading my own name because I was thinking of Joe Magliano and all the weird ways to say it.
That's great.
Ugh.
When I was typing out this question in Google, one of the suggested searches was, "Did Mr. T pity the fool?"
I mean, obviously.